Welcome to the Saturday Football Show. We're live with Tam McManus and myself, Peter Martin, bringing you the half-time scores and, of course, reaction at full-time from managers and players involved in the Scottish Premiership. We'll look at the lower leagues in Scotland and we'll also give you the English Premier League results as well. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join the football family on our YouTube channel, PLZ Soccer, and of course with the website and downloading the app, you've got all the news there at your fingertips as well. So approaching half-time right across the country, the big game in Edinburgh, the Edinburgh Derby, and it's Hearts who are on top at the moment. Alan Forrest has scored an absolute cracker in the game, Tam.
Yeah, he did. I think Hibs started the game well. I thought they started the first 5-10 minutes, they came out the blocks pretty sharp, but Hearts gradually got a grip of the game and the goal was coming. Alex Lowry hit the post and then another great save with Marshall, but then the ball falls to Alan Forrest and he puts one in the top corner. There's not much you can do about that. It's a fantastic goal and Hibs are up against it, but I think Hearts deservedly are in the lead so far.
And of course, given the conditions that are taking place at the moment, not bad. They've tried to play a bit of football. Yeah,
it's been a decent game. I think if you're watching it, it's been a good game of football to watch for a derby game. Usually they're pretty stuffy, but I think both teams are trying to attack and play football on a slick surface, but as I said, I think the Hearts do deserve to win the lead on their first half performance.
And if you're going to score a derby goal, Tam, I don't know if you managed to hit a raker, but that one is a special one that quite a few Hearts fans will be dining out on if it's the only goal of the game.
Yeah, listen, it's one of the goals of the season so far. It's a phenomenal strike for Alan Forrest. Goalkeeper's no chance. Great technique, and as I said, I think that Hearts. Stephen Kingsley looks as if he's maybe picked up an injury, which would be a blow for them. But I think Hibs need to maybe change it at half time. They've went with Doidge up front. I don't think that's particularly working. Adam Lafondro's on the bench. I think maybe getting him down the sides, maybe playing a few more balls over the top for him might come into play.
Yeah, did you have Hibs in the predictor?
I did, and it's not looking good so far.
Yeah, it's still a bit to go, but you never know. Celtic 2. Kilmarnock 0, Hatate and Palmer getting the goals. Palmer certainly on a red hot streak at the moment. He nearly had that goal in midweek, just ruled offside by VAR.
Yeah, he's an interesting one, Peter. I was obviously telling you earlier that I know the Greek women's coach. I played with him in Rochester in America, and he's from the club that Celtic signed him from. And I just asked him what it was like, Lewis Palmer, and he said he was the best winger in Greece. He was raving about him. It took a little bit of time to settle in. I thought he showed in parts against Feyenoord over there that he had something. He came obviously scored against Motherwell. The cross evaded everybody went in, and then he's unlucky the other night, as you said, with the goal. So gets a goal today at Parkhead. I think once he settles in, Lewis Palmer, I think he'll be a really good signing for Celtic.
Okay, they're 2-0 up. Elsewhere, Livingston against Motherwell hasn't quite lived up to expectation. 0-0 in that one. I think Ali sensed when she was going to that game that she was in for a turgid afternoon.
I mean, listen, the conditions are terrible. Obviously, driving over here, it's pelting the rain, it's windy on that surface. It's not going to be a great game to watch, and I think there's only been one shot on target in the full first half, so Ali will be sitting sick. That game.
Well, at least she's got a red card to report on. Lennon Miller's been sent off for Motherwell. They're down to 10 men.
Well, that could change the game, obviously, for Livingston's favour. I think it was a very, very tight game looking at the stats. There wasn't much happening. But that is obviously tips the balance in favour of Livingston to go and win the game now.
Okay, there was a waterlogged pitch in the match between Dundee and Ross County, so thankfully it was called off early and hopefully nobody had set out from Dingwall heading down to Dundee. As far as the Scottish Championship is concerned, Airdrieonians 0, Ayr United 1. Dunfermline against Arbroath, again waterlogged pitch. That match was postponed today. Inverness, Cally Thistle and Partick Thistle, and Queen's Park and Greenock Morton. No goals in those two games, and Wraith Rovers leading Dundee United by 1-0. In League One, it's Cove Rangers 2, Annan Athletic 0. Edinburgh City 0, Kelty Hearts 2. That's half time there. Montrose 1, Alloa 0, and Queen of the South 0, Stirling Albion 0. Falkirk against Hamilton is a 5:30 kick-off, of course, weather permitting. Bonnyrigg Rose against East Fife, and Elgin against Ennismuir. Those matches were called off this morning in League 2. It's Clyde 0, Dumbarton 2, Forfar 0, Peterhead 2, and Stranraer 1, Spartans 2. That's how it looks in the lower leagues at the moment. There was one match that finished earlier today. Tottenham down to 10 men. didn't bother them. They won it by a 1-0 at Luton. Elsewhere, it's Burnley 1, Chelsea 1, Everton 2, Bournemouth 0, Fulham 0, Sheffield United 0, and Manchester United 0, Brentford 1. I don't know about you, but I think everybody, best wishes go out to Sir Alex Ferguson, who sadly lost his wife this week. But since Sir Alex Ferguson left that club, it's been one manager after another that really hasn't been able to reach the heady heights.
Yeah, I think obviously a massive boots to fill. I think he's one of, if not the best managers, that's ever been, Alex Ferguson, and he was always going to be a hard act to follow at Man United. There's been a succession of managers went in there. Obviously, David Moyes, your friend, Jose Mourinho. There's been a lot of good managers in there, and Ten Cat came with a great, reputation from Ajax. But I think if they get beat today, Peter, I don't see where they go with him. I think that he'll get the sack. If they get beat off of Brentford today, I think that he'll get the sack. Yeah,
rather worrying for Hearts. There's been a long delay at Tynecastle, and it looks as if Kingsley's picked up an injury and he's going off.
Yeah, he just stretched. I think it was Doige went down the wing and he tried to cross the ball, and it's a great cut out from Stephen Kingsley, and he actually just slides in to cut the cross out, and I think he's maybe pulled his groin or he's done something to his knee. It looks as if it's a muscle injury, but hopefully it's not a bad one. But with something like that, we see it here, Peter. He just slides in to cut the cross out, and I don't know if he's stretched or he's caught his studs in the turf, but it looks a bad injury for him, unfortunately.
Ofaya coming on, Kingsley off in a stretcher. That'll be an extended play. Gary says, Pedro, how's Tam going to add to the show today? He isn't able to hover over your laptop. Gary, you're absolutely right. That's why I've just positioned it this way, just to see how extensive his see how extensive his research is, because he contributes nothing if he can't read it, and that's usually how he formulates his opinions for his column as well. Okay, we're going to keep you right up to date with all the action right across the board, and as soon as there's a half time, our reporters are out there at the grounds. Obviously Dundee against Ross County didn't materialise, but elsewhere we'll keep you right up to date. I think from a Celtic fan's perspective, they'll be well happy with that 2-goal advantage at the moment, and possibly a chance to build on that. It's again that roller coaster of emotions, Tam, because you get that situation. In fact, we'll actually just at this moment head to Livingston against Motherwell, because it's half time there. Alison McConnell is there for us.
Half so far in the game, however, came to life on the break when Lennon Miller was dismissed for the challenge on was dismissed on the Daniel Mackay. Bruce Anderson had slipped Mackay through, and Miller just showed his inexperience to tug him back and just deny a clear goal scoring opportunity. Other than that, this has been a fairly tepid affair, very little goal chances for either team. We're interested to see if Livingston now can go and manipulate that extra man that they'll have in the second period.
Just you suggested there, apart from the red card, a fairly tepid affair. That's Ali's way of saying it's a dreadful game.
Yeah, listen, I don't think it was ever. You don't get a good game at Livingston, unfortunately, Peter. I think the surface dictates that. It's not a surface you can go and get the ball down and play. It takes bobbles, it's bouncing all over the place. You've got to play percentage football, you've got to get in behind and make the other team make mistakes. And unfortunately for Lennon Miller, he's the great reputation he's coming through as a young player at Motherwell. As Ali said there, he's maybe just been caught inexperienced. He's caught it as the last man. He's pulled the Livingston player back and got a red card. So that should tip that game in Livingston's favour to go and win it.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks to Ali. We will hear more from Alison at full time in that match, and obviously get the thoughts of the managers as well. So, no goals, Lennon Miller sent off. Real blow for Stuart Kettlewell's side there. Can they somehow manage to see out that game and take anything from it? The big blow for them undoubtedly will be that they're on this run at the moment, 3 consecutive defeats.
Yeah, they are, and obviously the last couple of games, Peter, I think they've been unlucky. Rangers and Celtic. Rangers probably unlucky not to get a point at Ibrox. Celtic, you're a minute away from getting a great point against the champions. A real sickening for them. When it pop up with the winner. So I don't think there's a crisis now at the minute for Motherwell. But if they go 4 games, 4 defeats in a row, then all of a sudden that great start and that Stuart Kettlewell's had is maybe evaporating a little bit, but they're still in a pretty healthy position, and there's still 45 minutes to see the game out.
Yeah, I'm just having a wee look here actually, because Kevin says, Peter, I remember Tam slagging Ruffy off about his Skechers. What's going on here? What's he wearing? Yours are far from Skechers, I have to tell you, by the way.
Not. I think if you zoom in on your YouTube channel, you'll see that there's a bit of writing on there, BOSS.
Yeah, absolutely. Designer. And that's maybe an indication that Tam has forgotten all about his working class roots now. He's just moving on.
I got about the outlets at Gretna, and by the way, can I just tell you the story behind them? They're a size 7, right? That's why I've no laces in them, Peter. I've squeezed my feet in them because I got a deal in them. I'm a size 8.5.
Well, do you know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you get a chance. If you get a chance on Netflix, watch the Beckham.
I watched the first one last night.
Yeah, I thought it was great when he actually turns around to his wife and says, "Listen, don't be telling lies in this documentary. Your dad ran you to school in a Rolls Royce," which gives you an indication. Helen, thank you. Helen says Celtic playing well. Well, and they must be doing something right in this game, because quite simply, as we mentioned there, Tam, you know, when you come back from the disappointment and the agony of it, one thing I would say to you about Celtic in midweek, although, you know, you have to be critical of the fact that they needed one or two quality players to just maybe give them the chance to do something in that Champions League, which I think they're well off. They played some really good football consistently. They were patient. They played the ball along the back. They played some nice passing moves, and they got their just rewards with a goal. But if they'd had that second goal, it may well have been so different for them. But I thought they played some lovely stuff. I felt not only sympathy for the players and the way it all ended up, but I felt sympathy for the manager, because I am constantly listening to his post-match and pre-match interviews, and you can tell he wanted, you know, 2 or 3 players of quality in that side.
Yeah, I think that when you look at first of all, you look at Brendan Rodgers coming back to Celtic. Obviously, he's been promised some sort of funding. I think that he's obviously, between Dermot Desmond and the board, you know, they've got together and they said, listen, let's get Brendan back. And Brendan says, right, I want A, B and C in terms of finances to spend, money to spend. I want this player, I want that player. I don't think he's got the players, Peter, that he's wanted. I think he's went down the list, and now you've got the players in, you've got the players in. And the thing is, with guys like Yang and Palmer and guys like that, Lagerbielke, they're kind of project players, and that seems to be the model at Celtic. You know, they sign these guys at £2-3 million, and you hope that they're a Jeremy Frimpong. I seen him the other night scoring 2 goals for Leverkusen. He's getting linked for to 50 million. I think Celtic paid 250 grand for him. So those types of players do exist, but they're rare. And I think Celtic are going along the lines of too many of them. I think they have to go and try and buy a 6 or 7 and £8 million player, where it's a finished article, and try and develop them, because, as you said the other night, I think Celtic are great in the midfield, Peter. I think O'Reilly, Hatate, McGregor, superb midfield 3. You know, not out of place at that level, but I think the front 3, you know, Maeda at times, his decision making, listen, he works hard, he's a runner, he does a lot of good stuff. In terms of that wee bit of quality, Peter, I don't think he's got that. I thought Yang on the other side was poor, and Kyogo, great finish for the goal, but then disappeared at the game. So that's your front 3, Peter. You need more from them. And as you said, it all broke down that final third for Celtic, whereas I think defensively in midfield, I thought they were pretty good.
Let's go to Tynecastle. It's half time there now. Patrick Mullen has the details.
It is half-time here at Tynecastle Park, and it's Hearts 1, Hibernian 0. It is the hosts that have the deserved lead at the break, and that is all thanks to a wonder strike from Alan Forrest. It came on the edge of the half-an-hour mark, and it was about 30 yards out. He just whipped it onto his left-hand side and curled it into the top right-hand corner. An incredible finish, and it was the deserved lead. Hibs have been poor, they've created nothing, and that is such a surprise given the start to the Hibs teams we have seen from Nick Montgomery. He'll be hoping for a huge improvement in the second half, but at the break here, it's Hearts 1, Hibs 0.
Yeah, just with that, I know it's obviously going to be difficult for Patrick to hear us there, but just wondering, Patrick, a big blow, Hearts losing Kingsley. It looked like it was a very difficult injury there, just sliding in.
If there's any tickets left, get involved at e-ticketing.
Sorry, Peter, I'm really struggling to hear you here. The atmosphere around Tynecastle Park has been absolutely electric all afternoon. Both fans are absolutely up for this one, and sadly I'm not able to hear you at the moment. Hopefully we can sort this out a bit later.
Premiership this afternoon.
You've got a public address system that's able to tell people at Murrayfield and the surrounding area what's going on at the game.
It's loud in Tynecastle, Peter.
To be fair, he did well. He did well there to even get the report out. I'm happy with that. That's Patrick Mullen out there at Tynecastle, where Alan Forrest.
That green jacket he's gone as well, by the way.
Well, he's getting. Well, I was going to say to you, he's getting a new one. He's getting a PLZ jacket. He's reached enough appearances.
You like Hamilton Accies? Do you know what Hamilton Accies? The young boys are not allowed to wear white boots until they get into the first team.
Well, that's a good.
So Hamilton Accies, you've got to wear black boots all the way through the youth, and then when you get into the first team, you make a certain amount of appearances, you can wear coloured boots.
Well, that's a good idea, isn't it?
A lot of the Hamilton boys that doing at Braidhurst have all wear black boots.
Brilliant.
So you know where they? No, I'm not allowed to at Hamilton. I think it's a good thing as well, Peter.
Well, so do I. I mean, I'm still wearing black football boots. It hasn't done me any harm.
What was Puma King?
I did have Puma King for a long time, but now I've gone back to Copa Mundial. Kevin says, can you wish my mum Frances a happy 85th birthday today? Thank you, says Kevin. Well, happy birthday, 85. Absolutely magnificent.
Happy birthday, Frances.
Yeah, well done. It's good to have all sorts of viewers, all sorts of age ranges, and I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support we're getting. Last month's figures for the shows and of course our news coverage, lots of people tuning in and lots of people really getting behind what we're doing on the channel and the variety of the programming, which we absolutely love. So we're trying to bring you as many insights into the game across European football, Champions League, Europa and Conference as well. Of course, we will hear from the St Mirren camp, Stephen Robinson, talking about the game against Rangers tomorrow, and we'll also hear from Bojan Miovski ahead of Aberdeen's game up there at Pittodrie as well, because there's two games tomorrow because Aberdeen's involvement in the Europa football. Then they are playing on the Sunday as well. They've got a home match against St Johnstone and a real chance, not so much to bounce back, just to build on. It was a 1-1 draw. I think, if anything, they might have been happy with the point, but I was disappointed because I thought they should have achieved more against Helsinki.
Yeah, listen, I think that Barry will be disappointed. I think that those two games, Peter, against Helsinki, were you had to take 6 points. You've got two good teams in that group, PAOK and Eintracht Frankfurt. They're the favourites to go through, and I think you've got to take 6 points and then try and beat them. So I think that's Aberdeen's chance gone in terms of trying to win, try to get through that group. I thought the first half, they huffed and puffed. There was a lot of stoppages, Peter. I think there was 15 minutes added on. Duke took a real sore one with his elbow. I think he had blood coming out his ear at one point. One of the Helsinki players went down as well later on in the half. So they couldn't get any rhythm going in terms of putting pressure, getting momentum, getting the fans behind them. But second half, I thought once they get the goal, I thought they were going to win the game. And then Duke's clean through, Peter. He's got to score. He's clean through it, one each. He hits the goalkeeper. Last season he probably hits the back of the net. This season he's not been quite on it for me, so Aberdeen will be disappointed, but I still think they're capable of going to Helsinki and winning, but I think they've left themselves too much today against the other two, the two bigger teams. Yeah,
down south in the English Premier League, let me tell you, it's Luton 0, Tottenham Hotspur won a full-time scoreline there, and Van de Ven scoring the goal, Kevin Van de Ven scoring the goal, and it really was again one of those situations where Tottenham went down to 10 men and then still managed to get that all-important winning goal, which takes them top of the table in the English Premier League. It's incredible.
Brilliant, and I mentioned it last week, I think they've got Fulham and Crystal Palace in the next two games. They'd Luton, Crystal Palace, Fulham, and I thought, what an opportunity for Ange to go into November, being top of the league. Man City have got a difficult game, as we know, at the weekend at Arsenal. So, brilliant. It just shows you can do it a different way. Peter, they've scored a lot of goals this season. They've entertained, but they went down to 10 men away from home, and they've somehow managed to get a 1-0 win. And they've seen the game out comfortably towards the end. They defended well, and Ange took off Maddison, he took off Son, and he put on defenders. It was just something I've never really seen at Celtic. But he was happy with the 1-0 towards the end. And they've seen it out, so big 3 points for Tottenham and Ange.
Yeah, absolutely. Elsewhere, it just continues to bamboozle me. Chelsea, how can you, I just can't get over the disappointment in some of the players that they've signed, and they just can't seem to get a team together, regardless of which manager they bring in.
They need to sign a few more players, Peter. Maybe.
Yeah,
a wee bit lacking in squad depth.
Absolutely, maybe get to the £2 billion spend. Burnley 1, Chelsea 1. Everton 2, Bournemouth 0, and that it would be a huge sigh of relief because Everton are desperately trying to avoid that nail-biting finish that they got to the end of last season. Fulham 0, Sheffield United 0, and Manchester United 0, Brentford 1. And I can hear a lot of people groaning and wondering if the clock is ticking on Eric Ten Hag. Only time will tell. Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest is a 5:30 kick-off. And of course, there's the small matter on the Sunday of some tasty games. Not only St Mirren Rangers and Aberdeen against St Johnstone, but Brighton against Liverpool, West Ham, Newcastle, Wolves against Aston Villa, and Arsenal against Manchester City to look forward to. Thank you to so many of you for the messages that you're doing at the moment. Good to have Tam back, says Billy. There you are. There are some people who are absolutely delighted to have you back. And lots of people commenting on their team and their performances. You can actually follow us across Facebook and on YouTube and on Twitter, live on a Saturday afternoon as we bring you all the halftime scores, reaction from the managers and players at full time as well. So hopefully you're enjoying the crack, and you can post a few messages and we'll try and read out if you've got birthday requests or indeed anything that's bugging you in Scottish football and beyond. We'd be happy to chat to you about it. If anything, when you look at, and I'm just looking at this moment, you know, what's happening at Tynecastle. Difficult one. It was a late end to the first half because of that injury to Stephen Kingsley. But when you look overall at the Hibs team, what would you change, if anything, on this one?
I think in the forward areas, Peter, I think he switched the wingers over a couple of times. He switched Johan and Boyle a couple of times, and he's just trying to find that formula up front. Listen, he's got Adam Lafondra on the bench, who I think's a very, very good player, still at his age at 36. I would bring him on. He's tried to, I think he played Diego and Newell in the middle of the park. He knows that in those conditions, Peter, it's going to be a physical battle. So he's went with the bit of dig in there with Diego and Newell. And Hearts have just played round him at times in the middle of the pitch. They've fired high balls up to Doidge, it's not worked. Hibs are now shooting in towards their own fans, which I always thought when I played at Tynecastle, it gave you a wee bit of impetus. You know, you're shooting towards your own fans. You know, they could roar you on at times and give you a wee bit of momentum. So obviously it's the same with Hearts. Hearts are shooting into their own fans, but I think if you look at the stats, Hibs, you know, I think Hearts deservedly in front. I think they had 5 shots on target. I don't think Hibs have had a shot on target yet, so I think that he needs to change something, maybe, you know, personnel or tactically, to try and get back into the game, because I think if it goes 2-0 to Hearts, Peter, I think that'll be game over.
Yeah.
Famously said as well.
Yeah, absolutely, but it all came crumbling down for me on that day, which the Hibbies like to remind me of. And by the way, you should have seen the pelters they were giving me at the David Gray testimonial, just when they realised, oh, it was you, Egypt, that mentioned that in the tweet. But when you're 2-0 down at Tynecastle, it does look as if you're gubbed on that day anyway. Dylan Levitt and possibly Lafondra are the two types of players that I think you might look to try and change something in this.
Yeah, Dylan Levitt's obviously a different type of player from Diego. Diego's a destroyer in there, he breaks things up. I think you're 1-0 down, listen, you need to chase the game. You know, it's no use getting beat, you may as well get beat 2 or 3 than getting beat 1. So I think you might maybe leave it for 10-15 minutes, Peter, then make the changes. But I wouldn't be surprised if he made some changes at half time, but he needs more in the final third, Peter. Hibs have been powder puff.
Yeah, Roy Spears says, enjoying the show from Turkey. Great to have you with us, Roy. We certainly enjoy everybody, you know, just calling in and giving us their point of view.
Warmer over there, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely, than it is here. This is mental at the moment. I'm amazed, actually, that the Celtic game got the go-ahead because so many of the train stations were flooded.
Yep.
With
St Mirren tomorrow. I've seen some pictures from Paisley.
Yeah.
And it was people going up in the canoe, never mind the car. So,
yeah.
I wonder if that game will still be on tomorrow.
Well, that's a couple of my mates who had actually stolen the canoe.
You get it for Lidl.
I remember living in Paisley. It was just the most mental experience of my life. Still taught me well if ever it kicks off in a nightclub. Apart from that, thank you very much to Rab, who says, I need Ruffy on for the over 70s. My wee old gran is raging, lads. You see, we've got Ruffy, we've got so many different ages and ranges. With Lenny, you've got a certain group of people that like him. Lee.
Who likes him, Lenny?
Me and a couple other boys we know for the town. There's Ruffy, who's the housewife's favourite. You are great because so many people are now just joining a club that hate you because you throw grenades and then run away. Daniel says, hi from South Africa. I love the show. South Africa, that's a stretch.
Been there, Peter?
No, I haven't been there.
I've never been there.
So many people tell me there are so many lovely areas to go in South Africa, and it would be a great holiday, but I don't think I've got enough wedge to get there, to be honest with you.
That's something I've never really been never really appealed to me.
Not been on your radar?
Yeah. Neither's Australia, to be honest.
Well, to be fair,
I think it's too far away.
I'm going to have to go to Australia to see my mate that we grew up with, who moved over to Australia, and you just think, time. I don't want to get all roughy on you, but life is too short. You've got to. Chris just says Paisley makes you streetwise. Oh, Chris, that's an understatement. That absolutely sums it up perfectly. What a great place it was. Great for nightlife. Just great for everything. Great if you needed new gear. As long as you didn't mind it being BO silent QRS. That was. It looked like a Boss jersey, but at the end of the day, Stephen says yes. It's always good to see Tam on the show. So there are still some people who like you when you show up on a Saturday. So that's good. Second half, I can tell you, obviously, Hearts and Hibs had that long delay for Stephen Kingsley going off. Let's hope it's not something too serious with him. Maybe just that stretch, maybe a stretched muscle that Tam was talking about. But when you see a player going off on a stretcher, Tam, you always start to worry.
Yeah, I just think it's the way he slid in, Peter. It looked awkward. I don't know if he's caught his studs in the turf when he's slid, and that could be ankle ligaments, knee, or else he's actually, when he's overstretched and pulled a hamstring or a thigh or something. So I think in a derby game like that, I think it's got to be a serious injury for somebody to come off. I don't think you want to come off in a game like that. Yeah,
Burnley 1, Chelsea 2. Pochettino is really one of the finest managers of his generation.
I mean, three of my mates are down at the game. Charlie Adams sorted them tickets. They were looking for tickets for the Burnley game.
Is that right?
Got them tickets. So he texted me this morning. So at least I've 3 guys for scored right. At least I've got a few goals anyway.
Yeah, well, Palmer scored from the penalty spot, but with all due respect, it is Burnley. I mean, I know Vincent Kompany wants the team to play with a fluency, and obviously the way he was brought up in that Manchester City side. They're going to toil this year. It's going to be a battle for them to keep them in the division.
Yeah, listen, I looked at Luton today. I think they'll go down, Peter. Sheffield United will go down, and then it's a whole host of them. I quite fancy Wolves to go down this season, but they beat Man City last week, so I think that's kiboshed. Burnley are trying to play a certain way. You're right, Vincent Kompany's obviously from the Pep Guardiola school of trying to play football. If you've not got the players to do that, Peter, it's going to be difficult. They won in style last season in the Championship. I think it's a big step up from the Championship to the Premier League to try and play that same way against Chelsea's, Arsenal's, Man City's. They've had a hard run in. Obviously, they won during the week, I think, against Luton, which picked up a win for them. But games against Chelsea are not going to define their season. I think they've got to beat the Lutons and the Sheffield Uniteds and the Wolves when they play them. And I think they'll have a lot of the teams coming up soon.
Good point by Danny, who says Tam represents the scheme. I think that's a fair assessment of that kind of a genre and that age group that we like Tam to be in.
Nothing wrong with the scheme.
Absolutely. There's always room for a Ned on the show, Tam.
Thank you.
I'm only winding you up. Stephen McDonald says, was that a studio flat, Peter? Honestly, the flat I stayed in Paisley, when you came out of the bedroom, you were in the toilet. You just didn't realise if you'd taken a wrong move. It was so tight in there. And Chris says it certainly made me street smart in Paisley, moving to Melbourne. So it's a goal for Livingston. See if you can tell me who scores. The man who scores usually for Livingston is put in my head. Bruce Anderson. What a great player he's been for them.
He has, and I think they knocked back money. He knocked back a move to Georgia or something in the summer. It was a weird one. I think David Martindale was trying to sell everybody at the club to try and get some money in. But I think with him in your team, you've always got a chance. He's a goal scorer, Peter. He doesn't get many chances in that Livingston team, but they should go on and win the game now, and that would be a big win for Livingston. I think they've toiled this season a wee bit. They don't look as good as they were last season. But 1-0 up against 10 men at home, they should go on and win the game now, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. David Martindale has to just basically work wonders there. But I actually thought between them and St Johnstone, I thought they'd be the ones that would be toiling. The two teams there that I think will be at the bottom.
The thing with Livingston, Peter, is their park. Their home form should keep them up. They should have an advantage playing at home.
Yeah,
that should be an advantage. I remember playing against Hamilton Accies when they had the AstroTurf in the Championship. and they won the league. Dunfermline in the Championship won the league, playing on Astro. They should have Kilmarnock come up, I think last season or the season before, AstroTurf. I think it's a big advantage to have that as your pitch.
Yeah, Airdrieonians 0, Ayr United 2. So it's
Mackenzie. 2 old clubs, Peter.
Yeah, Mackenzie has scored. Did you play for Airdrie as well?
I did. Had a loan spell with him with Steve Archibald. They went bust after it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a familiar line. So he's got that goal there, so they are in command in that match at the moment. We'll keep you right up to date if there's any other twists and turns on it. But in the Championship, that's a good scoreline there. And also, I can tell you, good scoreline at Starks Park. Raith Rovers leading Dundee United by a goal to 0.
Yeah, it is. And listen, I think Raith Rovers are definitely a team on the up. They've got a wee bit of investment in there. They've got new directors, a new board. I was up at Lewis Vaughan's testimonial a few weeks ago.
Well, he scored.
Yeah, great, good player as well.
Yep.
Great lad, Hib supporter actually, and I just think there's something. They're building something at Raith Rovers, and I'm not quite sure if they would go top of the league. Would they go above Dundee United today? I don't know if they would go top, but they're probably a surprise package this season, Peter. And Ian Murray, a guy who done really well at Dumbarton, got a good move to St Mirren, didn't work out at St Mirren. He's went there and he's done really well. I think he's 500 days in charge, which is quite a long time for a manager now.
Yeah.
And an ex-teammate of mine, a guy who I played with Hibs for 7 years, and I don't think I heard him saying 3 sentences. Very, very quiet, but seems to have taken a bit like water to management.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you look at the tables, they're ahead of Dundee United at the top of the table. If they can maintain what they're doing at the moment, that would be absolutely superb. In fact, the way the results are at the moment, then Raith Rovers would be 2 points clear of Dundee United. So it's an interesting one. Long way to go, but on a Saturday afternoon, as ever, Tam's here with me, and we'll read out some of your messages. And let's not forget, we've got the predictor going as well. Thanks to Stephen Scott, who says, my mate moved to South Africa and he got deported for stealing an Eric Clapton cassette from a Virgin record store. So there you are. Just the kind of a mad stuff that people send in, which has got nothing to do with football.
How random is that?
Yeah, absolutely. But how random is it? How random is that an Eric Clapton cassette? Just shows you how old he was. Thank you very much for that, and thank you to so many. Billy says Hatate is back to his best, outstanding, and I think there's something happening at Celtic as well. It's a penalty for Celtic. So, and Hatate's just been brought down. Penalty, 3-0 I have in the predictor, Tam. Have you got 3-0 too?
I think it might be early for the third, but that could be 4 or 5.
It's going to be one of those things. And that draws me nicely to the point of Kilmarnock and Derek McInnes, and what he does not want to be doing this season is what he was doing last season, going into, I think, February, March. They were still looking to try and get enough of momentum to get away from the bottom half of the table.
Yeah, they were. I think that, they started the season brilliantly. I think they beat Celtic, beat Rangers, and drew with Hearts. They're on a bad run at the minute. They're on a really, really bad run at the minute. They are, I think, 6 or 7 games without a win. That could be a scalping now. 3-0 with half an hour to go. That could be 4 or 5-0. So they've had a little bit of a blip. But again, I think Kilmarnock's home form will keep them in the division. Whether they're good enough to push for the top 6, I'm not so sure this season. But listen, they need to try and get back on track.
Yeah, well, once you get the games against Celtic out of the way, and Rangers, you've suddenly got a little run. They've got a run now of 2 home games against Livingston, Aberdeen, then St Johnstone away, then Motherwell, and then Hibs and Ross County. So this whole period heading into
a tough run. Before
they get to December, Tam, they've got games there where they'll look and say we can pick up some good points.
Yeah, listen, I think particularly against your Livingstons, Ross Counties, teams like that, you've got to try and beat them round about you at home. They've had a tough run. I think they seem to have played Celtic and Rangers all the time over the last few weeks. So they've had a tough run, but I think once they get that out of their way, you're right. Once you can see a fixture list where you're avoiding Celtic and Rangers, you can start to look to pick up some points. Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep you up to date with Celtic, and if they score that penalty, 2-0 up at the moment, and they could add the third, and that could be that for Kilmarnock in any hopes of taking anything from the game. As far as Hearts and Hibs are concerned, Tam, just that one goal, and it was an absolute cracker from Alan Forrest, who's actually just really, since he's got into the team again, started to really hit a bit of form. Yeah, he's a good player, Peter. I think that obviously he's been in the shadow of his brother James, but I think in his own right he is a good football player. I think you've seen at Livingston, firstly obviously Ayr United under Ian McCall. I thought he deserved his move to the Premier League. Livingston signed him, and I thought he was a standout for David Martindale. So listen, I think he's obviously been in and out the team at Hearts, but he's got into the team today. Hearts have got a big squad, and he's took his chance. It's a great finish, and to put Hearts in front.
Yeah, and I can tell you the Hatate penalty has been rescinded after they're checking it, so it's no longer a penalty. It's a close call.
It is a close call, but I think maybe the referee's got that one right. I think that when you look at it, I don't think there's a lot of contact there. I think the referees ultimately came to the right decision for that.
Yep, so Celtic 2-0 in front, and I can tell you it's a goal for Hearts. They're now 2-0 in front in that match, Tam, and I think that puts paid to any hopes that maybe Hibs had of doing something in that game.
Yeah, I think that'll be game over now, Peter. I know it's been done before, coming back from 2-0 down at Tynecastle, but it's a mountain to climb for Hibs now. They just haven't got going. As I said, they started the game well the first 10 minutes, but I think Hearts have been in ascendancy for most of the game. And I think the second goal was always going to be important. If Hibs got it, obviously they could go on to win the game, but Hearts going 2-0 up now. I think that could be curtains for Hibs, unfortunately, and it could be a first defeat for Montgomery.
There's a wee bit of enthusiasm around Montgomery, but, you know, as ever, I hate uttering these words, but he just needs that little bit of time where he can put in his own ideas, bring in his own side, make his own signings, of course, as well. But, you know, managers, God almighty, you know, sometimes they get the sack too quickly. Nick Montgomery will be looking, I think, this time, and I think the Hibs board will be well aware that he needs this whole season and then another season to implement his ideas.
Yeah, listen, I think it's been far too many managers coming in and out the door at Hibs. I think they made a major mistake getting rid of Jack Ross. And I think it's been a snowball effect since then. Sean Maloney, Lee Johnson, now Nick Montgomery. So, no, I think that when you look at it, he needs time. He's came in at a time where the window's been closed. He's not been able to buy in his own players or bring in his own players, and he's inherited another manager's squad. And there's a wee bit of patience required. Listen, Hibs have got a poor record at Tynecastle. You know, we spoke about it the other day. I was at Hibs for 7 years and I never won at Tynecastle. Ruffy was at Hibs for 10 years and never won at Tynecastle.
Yeah. So
between us, 17 years, we've not won a game at Tynecastle. Hearts are strong at Tynecastle, and not a lot of Hibs fans would have held out much hope today to go and get beaten them, but it'd still be disappointing to lose the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks as if, I mean, I think a lot of people are thinking it might have taken a little deflection of Doidge, but certainly Lowry is the man who's celebrating as if he was the main goal scorer we're hearing. So Lowry, if it is indeed him who got that final touch, what an absolute bonus for him, Tam.
Yeah, listen, I know him well. Coached him down at Braidhurst when he was a young kid at high school, in the performance school. Very, very talented boy. I think at Hearts he's been kind of playing out of position. He's played him in the wing a few times, Stephen A. Smith. On the goal here, you see him cutting inside, and it's I don't know who it is.
Doidge.
And Doidge. That's pure defending, Peter. You know, he's got to clear that. We'll see it again here. It just flicks off his foot and goes in. Listen, I think he's got to do better. But Alex Lowry's making things happen. You know, he's been positive. He hit the post the first half. Marshalled a good save from him, and then he's created the goal there, and Doidge has just been hooked on the back of that. So I don't think the manager's too happy, but I think he's maybe made that change too late, Peter. I think maybe, you know, Lafondra for Doidge should have been done earlier in the game, but he's made it now at 2-0. Yeah.
Game could be gone for them. What do you think? I'm not going to say anything because you never know with Hibs. They could come back and win that 3-2 and just then they'll tweet start again. I can tell you Livingston are now 2-0 up in Motherwell. Sean Kelly from I think the penalty spot has got the goal there, and that really is that for Motherwell as well, because they're down to 10 men. Miller sent off in the first half.
Yeah, listen, I think the sending off kills Motherwell. I'm wary of saying that because I seen David Beckham's mum and dad raging last night because Hoddle said that Beckham costed in the World Cup game getting sent off.
Yes.
They weren't too happy with that. They're getting hung out to dry, so you don't want to hang a young boy like Lennon Miller out. He's made a mistake, but I think after that sending off, it's been a long way back for Motherwell, and they look as if they're going to lose again today.
Yeah, Sean Kelly with the goal there from the penalty spot. So Livingston in control, and Hibs desperately trying to get back into it. But again, as they frantically try and get a goal to give them something to fight for, Hearts more than happy just to clog that box and make sure that any shots they do get are met with, flying bodies. And I think if you were talking about a derby, you need to have the desire as well to throw yourself in there and block every shot that's coming in. And Hearts, on the evidence of what we've seen, Tam, certainly are capable of that.
Yeah, they've done that better than Hibs, Peter. I think the first, as I said, Hibs started the game well. They came out the traps very well, got a few attempts at goal. But I think Hearts have dominated the game from what I've seen. The rest of the game, Tynecastle's a tight pitch. It's tough conditions. It's wet. It's windy. It's going to be a physical battle, and I think Hearts have won that physical battle and got the better of Hibs. And they've got the 2 goals as well. Second one's a little bit fortunate, Doidge on goal. But unless Hibs can get a quick goal back, if they do get that, momentum can maybe take them on to a draw. But it looks a forlorn hope at the minute for Hibs.
Yeah, we're going to be looking ahead to St Mirren against Rangers tomorrow. We've got a little message coming in off our our YouTube comments saying, Peter and Tam, what's your thoughts on Philippe Clement now being heavily linked with the job, got a decent pedigree and looks like by all accounts to play attacking football? Well, Tam, I think I hate to read any player after the event of a manager getting sacked saying we got the manager sacked, it's on us. Of course it's on you. The players didn't play for Michael Beale. I think a number of players that they signed have not been good signings. Philippe Clement, if he was the man, or if it was a Kevin Muscat, they have to try and get something out of this squad that they're going to inherit. The last thing they can do, any new manager coming in, is you can only hope that Rangers can win against St Mirren so that they're not coming in with potentially a 10-point gap, because Celtic are going to beat Kilmarnock today.
Yeah, I think tomorrow is a big game for Rangers. I think you're right. I think any manager would want to come in and still have a chance of winning the Championship, whether that's Clement or Muscat or whoever's been linked. I think the Eintracht Frankfurt manager who beat Rangers in the final has been linked as well, so it's like the Glasner. So I think there's a lot of people out there who would want the job, but first and foremost they've got to come in and see we can catch Celtic, because the be all and end all at Celtic Rangers is finishing above the other one. If Rangers get beat tomorrow or drop points tomorrow, whether it goes to 8 points or 10 points, that's an enormous gap, Peter, at this stage of the season. And I'm not writing Rangers off completely, but I can't see Celtic dropping that amount of points and Rangers winning every game. It's too big an ask. So if Rangers can win tomorrow, it just keeps it within touching distance. But it's a very, very difficult game, I think, for Rangers tomorrow against a St Mirren team that's very strong at home. Yeah,
I think the biggest signing that Rangers could get over the next few months, never mind the manager that they bring in, I think they've got to look for investment, Tam. I think
director of football as well, Peter.
Well, people talk about a director of football, but a director of football, still can only suggest certain pathways based on the money they have available, and Rangers don't have anywhere near the money that Celtic have, and the hard facts are that Celtic are miles ahead of Rangers financially off the park, and they're going to get even stronger. And next season, with that Champions League money, it's 60 million. It's 60 million. So you're suddenly in a situation where you're saying to yourself, what they've got in the bank now, what they're going to get coming, Celtic could be out of sight. And a manager that comes in at Rangers needs not only a good recruitment, as you say, a director of football, fine, that's fine, he identifies the players, but you have to have the money to buy them, and they have to be of a certain calibre that's not going to be, as I mentioned in the column on PLZ Soccer, a jumble sale with, players on loan and some players that are not wanted by anybody and suddenly come to Scottish football, and then you start to see them in Scottish football and they're poor.
I think the first thing any manager's going to ask, Peter, is how much money have I got? So if it's the guys we mentioned there, say for instance a Kevin Muscat, he's going to want to know how much money he's got to spend in January. How much money have I got? If it's 3 million, 5 million, 6 million, if it's nothing, I think that's going to be a big burden on managers who want to come to Rangers. They've got to have money to spend, because you're looking at that squad just now and it's not good enough. The guys have signed have not been good enough so far, and they've cost a lot of money. I don't see them getting rid of them or selling them on. We're talking about Celtic getting that 60 million as well. Jeremy Frimpong is getting linked. I think he's going to go for 45 to 50 million. And Celtic have got 30% sell-on for that as well. That could be another 10, 12, 15 million for Celtic on the back of nothing, just selling a player on. So in terms of finances, Celtic are miles ahead of Rangers. And you're right, Rangers need to find a white knight from somewhere to come in and back the manager with big cash.
Yeah.
And is he or she out there? You know, that's debatable. But until Rangers get that type of investment, somebody come in and going like, there's 20, 30 million, 40 million, going, there you go and compete with Celtic now. I don't see Rangers getting closer to Celtic.
I meant to say to you, Tam, my prediction in the Hearts-Hibs game was Hearts 2, Hibs 1. What did you go for?
2-1 to Hibs.
2-1 to Hibs, so you're well and truly goose, which is great. I think I'm well ahead of you in the predictor anyway. I'm not really worrying about you. I think I'm only just behind Ruffy. And as you can tell, the reason I'm saying that is Johan has scored for Hibs, so they've got to go back in that game, and suddenly it gets to the squeaky bum time. There's still more than enough time for the High Bees to get an equaliser.
And as I said, that makes the next goal in the game is going to be huge. If there was going to be a goal, Hibs had to get it clearly, and that's a big goal. That could lead to Hibs going and getting something out of the game. Hearts will get nervous now at home. Their fans, the Hibs fans, will roll them on. Those fans behind that goal. And
proper derby with lots of fans there.
Proper derby, Peter. Love playing that derby. First ever start for Hibs was at Tynecastle. The atmosphere is just unbelievable. And then when you score a goal at that end, you know, with the Hibs fans are there, it's fantastic. The feelings, the elation you get is incredible.
I thought I was going to get maximum points today, but it's 2 each now. Johan scored another one, and Hibs are level.
Is it 2 each? Oh, yes! There you go.
I mean, his first one's an absolute raker, isn't it?
First one's a screamer, and I can't believe it. What a turnaround.
Thank God I didn't open my mouth, by the way. Thank the Lord, I nearly put my foot in again.
Peter, 2-0, the game's over.
Yeah, I should have
The run
actually
continues, but as I said, when you get that quick goal, it can spook the other team, and Hibs get that momentum, get that confidence, and to go 2 each, what a turnaround for Hibs. You know, we're just seeing his first goal there. It's a fantastic finish from him. And to get 2 goals in what, a couple of minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's game on again.
Yeah, a goal for Kilmarnock as well. They've got one back there, so
That's a 3-0. That's a 3-0 at the window.
yeah, it's gone as well.
2-1?
It's 2-1 now. Yeah, everything's. It's Watson has scored that goal for Kilmarnock, so suddenly it's an amazing couple of minutes in football. That's why we love it. That's why we love Scottish football, because you know, crazy things can happen on a pitch that, because of the weather, looked as if it was going to be, you know, skidding about. It could have been really, really difficult, Tam. And on a pitch like that, you were wondering whether there's going to be any quality football. But with all due respect, you know, they've produced it. Hibs have produced it, certainly. Some of the fans are on the park. They're going mental. But when you get an equaliser so quickly after the first one, Tam, no wonder the Hibs fans are going mental.
Yeah, those supporters at 2-0 are thinking, oh, here we go again. You know, came to Tynecastle, beat again. And then when you get that goal, that first goal, you know, it all comes back. You see the goal here, just lands to him. It's another fantastic finish.
Pure defending, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's pure defending. You know, that's a pure cutout. And it's a lovely finish. And listen, Hibs have got the momentum now to go and win the game, which would be an amazing comeback. I don't see many teams coming back from 2-0 down at Tynecastle and winning. Yeah,
if they get a winner, wow. And Dougie says Tam's 5 minutes from flying off the sofa. Dougie, you'll never know how right you are. He's a happy man, because that's incredible.
I had to change my column during the week. Monty out to Monty in after 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, the erratic, it's incredible, but the erratic nature of it. But sometimes, Tam, I always say this, you know, when you get Edinburgh derbies, Glasgow derbies, any derbies, if you can somehow engineer, one, a good performance, battling, and the fans sense that you're giving your all, then they'll cut you some slack. If you can suddenly get an away win at the home of your greatest rivals, people are buying right into you.
Yeah, especially 2-0 down, Peter, you know, and not a lot of people would have gave Hibs hope, but 2 goals in 2 minutes from Johan. You know, it just shows you how quickly the game can change, and he's turned it on its head. Hearts looking as if they're going to see the game out comfortably, and then bang, Hibs back in it in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Could be a few twists and turns coming in the other matches as well. So keep it locked here. We will indeed keep you right up to date with what's happening across the Scottish Premiership. If there's a goal anywhere, then we will keep you right up to date with it, and we'll get the reaction in that as well. But the goals for Celtic coming from Hatate and Palmer. It's been not a bad week for them. And then, of course, Kilmarnock getting that goal back. And I think they'll be absolutely delighted to get the goal back, and now realising that there's maybe a wee chance for a bit of a fight going on there. David Watson scoring, the midfielder, banging the goal in for Kelly to make it interesting. It's now 2-1 in that match. Carter Vickers gone off again. James Forrest has come on for Palmer. Carter Vickers was a strange substitution in the European game when they brought him on, because he looked rusty, gave away the ball, and Lazio scored in the last minute.
Yeah, it was a strange one. You don't usually take your centre-half off, Peter. And replace him with another centre-half. Whether the boy Nat Phillips is tired, he's not played a lot of football, whether he was flagging. Listen, I've got all the GPS in the bench.
Yeah.
You've got the tracking with his laptop or his iPad, and they've got all the stuff there. All the numbers in terms of fatigue. So maybe they've thought he was flagging and he's starting to get tired, and they've made that sub. But that'd be a big blow if he's picked up another injury, because he's a top player, Carter Vickers, and he's just coming back from injury. So hopefully it's just precaution and it's not a it's not a serious injury, because he's obviously just back.
Yeah, there are some players across the world, Tam, that GPS means nothing. I mean, if you were looking at Messi's GPS, you're thinking, wait a minute, this guy's just walked about for the last 20 minutes. And then
he's the only player, Peter, that can never get away with it. I mean, there's nobody else can get away with it bar Messi. He's that good.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll see another player like that ever again.
But just walking about, then
just
bang.
He's never really had electric pace. He's probably quicker with the ball than he is without the ball, which is very rare for any football player. But I don't think you'll see that again. We're talking about Mbappe being the best player in the world. Mbappe's based on athleticism, pace, power. I think if he loses that, then he's not going to be as good. But Messi's just his ability. Yeah,
absolutely is. And of course, it's a strange Edinburgh Derby, because 3 Hibs players have scored the goals, Tam, and it's 2-2.
Yeah, you're right. Aye, Doige and then Johan. Hearts just nearly went ahead again there. So no, listen, I expect a wide open game, Peter. I thought that both managers would go out and try and win the game. I think Montgomery is definitely an attacking coach. He'd have went to try to win the game. You've seen that he played 3 up front with Boyle, Johan and Doige. Hearts making a few changes now. Boys coming on, they're trying to win the game. So I think there'll be another goal in this game, Peter.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's for Hibs.
And Patrick, there's impartiality for you. Patrick, our reporter there, said between Johan's first goal and his second, 83 seconds. Patrick needs to get out more, doesn't he?
That's a great start from old Paddy boy there.
Yeah.
His green jacket, he would get pelters when he came out of that.
Yeah,
box.
He will indeed, which is why we're getting him a PLZ jacket as quickly as possible. Black tends to be a neutral colour for everybody. And I can tell you, goal for Chelsea. And Burnley won, Chelsea 4 now. So Jackson has scored.
Chelsea just maybe turning a corner, Peter. I watched them against Fulham. Is it Fulham Monday night?
Yep.
I thought they won the game comfortably. Poch, always going to take him time, to build a team, but he's 2 good fixtures. Let's be honest, Fulham and Burnley. But it's a chance to build confidence for him.
Yeah, I'll tell you who I'm delighted for. Sean Dyche, Everton 3, Bournemouth 0. I really want Everton to stay in the division. Obviously a Liverpool fan myself, but I've got a soft spot for Everton.
Yeah, you want that derby, Peter.
Yeah.
You want Everton are a big club, massive club. We were down there, we've seen the stadium getting built.
It was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, brilliant. And then I think they move into it. Is it next season they maybe move into it? Or is it been delayed? I'm not sure. I'm not up to date on it, but fantastic stadium, and it would kill them if they were in the Championship at that stadium.
Yeah, I hope he can get it all right, because it's a great club, and it certainly, on the many occasions when I was down there, when Moisey was the manager, there were great people, lovely people in the background as well. So you want to see them get into that new stadium in the Premier League, and with new owners as well. There's a real chance for them to strengthen that squad in the January transfer window.
Yeah, listen, I think the club will be buzzing to move into that stadium. Obviously been at Goodison Park for forever. It's probably, you need to modernise it, you need to go to a newer stadium, bigger capacity, and no, I think they'll be buzzing to move into that stadium. I think the whole city will get a lift from Everton going into that stadium, but it's no use to them if they're in the Championship. They need to be in that Premier League and have that money to sustain it.
Yeah, Chris says, I know you've spoken about it before, but I think it's shocking the Edinburgh Derby isn't live. Absolutely disgraceful. I mean, that's the strange thing about it now, because everybody expects the games.
Every Edinburgh Derby should be live on the TV, Peter.
Yeah?
It should be, Sky. I remember, see the 4-4 game I played for Hibs against Hearts, that wasn't on the telly either.
Is that right?
It's just, I don't know why, every game should be on either BBC or Sky.
Yeah, okay, you have spoken. Chris actually comes up with somebody that I absolutely loved as a player, and he says, Projanecki, quality midfielder, never ran. When you're Projanecki, you don't need to run.
No.
I remember actually, I was a young reporter at the time, and Sir Bobby Robson was the Barcelona manager, and I said to him, I said, we were trackside, and I said, I love your number 8, and he went, and I'll never forget Sir Bobby Robson, he turned around and he went, 100 fags a day, son. And I thought to myself, wow, because smoking for footballers then was the norm. I think Johan Cruyff smoked a lot of cigarettes as well.
There's still current players that like a cigarette.
You could see the great...
Russell Latapy loved a fag.
Did he?
He smoked about 20 or 30 a day.
Yeah, it's a crazy situation.
George Albert's liked a fag.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where I think a lot of footballers now have changed their attitude and their professionalism to it. But listen, when you're as good as Projanecki, you can do what you like as long as you keep scoring the goals, picking the passes. He was one of my favourite players. Again, I love a midfielder, Tam, who can
play a maverick. Like yourself.
I love players who can play the ball forward. I like midfielders who can pass the ball forward.
It's a dying art, those type of players, isn't it, Peter?
Yeah.
There's no really room for them in the modern game, is there? Like a maverick, a Matt Letizia or somebody that just sits and doesn't work off the ball.
Yeah.
Managers want their whole team to be working.
You should sit next to, and I've had the great joy of sitting next to Martin O'Neill, listening to him talk about Moravcik. Work rate. I'm not tracking back, and I think the boys actually laughed when they was, in the early days looking at Moravcik and thinking, are you going to track back? And then once Martin O'Neill realised this boy's a genius, there's no need for you to be tracking back.
He scored one of the best goals I've ever seen, and I was playing the game. You were commentating on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hibs at Easter Road, his left foot.
It was a belter.
When Alec McLeish slaughtered me at half time for not shutting them down, he was about 40 yards out, and I was shouting, just shoot. And he did shoot. He put it in the top corner.
I think there are certain players that you cut a hell of a lot of slack for. One of the players that I used to love, and I don't think he did too much tracking back either, was Chris Waddle.
That's right.
I thought Chris Waddle was a great player as well.
Saying that, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He was an absolutely fantastic player.
Falkirk.
Yeah, left peg. Absolutely brilliant. Players like that can get fans going away from a game, just waxing lyrical about that thing that they've, that little bit of magic that they've witnessed. Greg Taylor scored for Celtic. They're 3-1 up now. Not often Greg gets a goal, but he's got one today, 3-1, and that.
Yeah, I think
that's that.
Yeah, should put the game to bed. I think when you go to 2-1, there's a wee bit of nervousness creeping in at Celtic Park. All of a sudden, from being 2-0 up and possibly having a penalty and the game done to 2-1, there's a wee bit of nervousness in the stadium. But Greg Taylor getting the goal, that should be game over, and scoring against his old team. Yep,
absolutely. Livingston 2-0 up on Motherwell. The Edinburgh Derby still nicely locked at 2-2, and if there's anybody who comes up with a goal now, it's one of those ones where he can go away and celebrate the entire weekend, because next goal the winner, Tam.
Yeah, I'd say so. I still think that both teams will push for the winner, and I think there'll be a goal in that game, Peter. Hopefully, as I said, I think there will be. I don't see any either manager settling for a point. I think Stephen Naismith will be desperate to win the game. I don't think Montgomery's going to settle for a point, so I think there will be another goal in that.
Okay, Ayr Reunions 1, Ayr United 2 in the Championship. No goals between Inverness and Partick Thistle and Queen's Park and Greenock Morton. And it's honours even between Wraith Rovers and Dundee United, 1-1 at that game. Now, Scottish League 1, Cove Rangers 3 and Athletic 2. Edinburgh City 0, Kelty Hearts 4. Montrose 1, Alloa 1, Queen of the South 0, Stirling Albion 1. And the half-5 kick-off is Falkirk against Hamilton Accies. Elsewhere in League 2, Clyde 0, Dumbarton 4, Forfar 1, Peterhead 2 and Stranraer 3, Spartans 4. That's how it looks in the lower leagues. As far as the English Premier League is concerned, the Ange Postecoglou bandwagon rolls on. The 10 men of Tottenham win 1-0 at Luton. That game finished. Burnley 1, Chelsea 4, Everton 3, Bournemouth 0, Fulham 1, Sheffield United 1, and it's still Manchester United 0, Brentford 1. And strangely enough,
big last 20 minutes for.
Oh, it's massive. It's massive because, strangely enough, and we'll talk about Rangers a little later on in the programme, especially with their performance in midweek, but when a manager comes in, you want to see a style, you want to understand what they're trying to do. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't even see a structure to Manchester United. I don't know who plays where you could say that's his best position, or he's getting a regular game at this, because it just looks like a mishmash.
Yeah, I think it's similar to Chelsea. I think it's just sign loads of players and just put them in and see somebody does something. There's no structure. There's no, like, I think with Newcastle, Eddie Howe, you can see how they want to set up and play. You know, they're pretty defensive and they play in the counter attack. Man City, you know, ball possession. You want to retain the ball, make the pitch big. You know, play with Haaland up front. Other teams as well in the league, you can see what they're trying to do, but with Chelsea and Man United, it's just a case of let's just sign guys for 20, 30, 50 million and just throw them in and somebody will do something. And it's been going on too long at Man United. They've had no structure since Sir Alex left, and it's been a succession of managers who've come in and failed. So whether they stick with this guy or not, I don't know, but I think the Man United fans will be very unhappy with the week they've had, obviously losing in the Champions League as well to Galatasaray, and then potentially losing again, you know, to lose 2 games back to back at Old Trafford. I think it would be hard to survive as a manager.
Yeah, absolutely, and a tough one to take for so many fans there who've been watching it. And listen, there's been all the speculation as well about who was going to come in and take over at Manchester United. In the end, the Glazers are still in charge, and I think that rankles with a few Reds as well.
Yeah, I think that's the main crux of the problem. I think the Glazers overseen it, and listen, it just needs somebody to come in and buy them out. I don't know who's got deep enough pockets. Man United are a global club, you know, they're massive, you know, it costs a lot of money to buy them, but I think until they get new owners and the ownership at the top, then it's going to be more of the same for Man United, unfortunately.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, this is the Saturday results show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you get a chance, hit the subscribe button and join the football family, because we'd love to hear from you, not only on YouTube but Facebook and Twitter as well. The figures have been absolutely fantastic last month, as well as all over the course of the season. People really kind of enjoying our variety of content as well. We've got the women's football show, we've got the main football show, Neil Lennon on a Monday, Lee McCulloch on a Friday, with myself, Tam and Ruffy. And over and above that, we've got the Journos show, where 4 journalists we just get together and fight with each other, to be honest with you. And I've got Straight Talk, which last week, I don't know if you remember, Tam, James Grant is the lead singer of a band called Love and Money from the 80s. He was absolutely sensational. Just
my time, Peter.
He was, well, I
did watch it, but
he is a genius.
I was interested to hear him.
So he's there, and there's some really big guests coming up in the next month or two, Tam, that I think will interest you. Some that you'll watch more than others, but again, it's always good to get a wee one-to-one with somebody. If you had the ideal one-to-one with anybody in the world that you wanted to speak to, who would it be?
Good question, Peter.
Yeah,
Something interesting.
somebody that you just thought that would be great to just sit down, chat with them, and then maybe go out for a pint later on. Yeah, without getting battered with your
Phil
wife.
Mickelson.
Okay, wow. I'm amazed you said that, by the way. He's such a bad reputation.
I know he has, but so far, let's be honest. So we can talk about stuff. No, I don't know. I quite like
Phil Mickelson.
Aye.
Wow. I think
he'd have some great tales, Peter.
Oh, he has some great tales, but I think I'm amazed you mentioned that. It's probably one of the reasons why you and I don't hang about together. He's the last person that I would have probably mentioned for a wee weekend out or a wee chat, sit down. Phil Mickelson, wow. Okay, good question for everybody, isn't it?
Yes, aye.
Who would you like to get out there on an interview, a one-to-one, sit down with them and somebody you think would be a right good laugh and a night out as well. It's always good to get that. Chris says Tom Conti. Yeah, I mean, it's all...
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, movie stars. Yeah, something like that would be...
something like that.
Would be good. I think Matthew McConaughey would be good for a right good night out as well. Seems right down to earth. But footballers, for a night out... You're just thinking you're Hibs boys, aren't you? Grant Brebner. I'll tell you, there's lots of guys that have played in the Edinburgh Derby. What's it like? Are you able to block out the noise, Tam? Do you hear it?
No, you don't. Peter, obviously, I was at Hibs for 7 years and had my fair share of wins, particularly at home. I won a few games at home, but I found it very difficult at Tynecastle to win games. Obviously we were 4-2 up, and I think with 2 minutes to go, and Graham Weir scored the 2 goals at the New Year's fixture for 4 each, which was an absolute dagger.
Yeah.
But the whole build-up all week, you bump into Hibs fans, whether you're out doing your shopping or you're out for a walk or you're in a pub or whatever, you hear Hibs fans saying we need to beat Hearts. That's a big fixture of the week. We need to beat Hearts, come on, we need to beat Hearts. And thankfully, at home, we did manage to beat them. I remember Ulysses de la Cruz. He scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
He scored 2 goals in one of the games. The worst left foot I've ever seen. He was a very good football player. His left foot was for standing on. And I remember him cutting in a derby game on his left foot. And I was thinking, don't shoot. And he curled it right in the top corner. The first time I'd ever seen him reaching the goal with his wet lettuce of a left foot. But nah, it's a huge fixture, Peter. It's a big fixture in Edinburgh. You've obviously lived through in Edinburgh yourself. It's a big deal through there. And both sets of supporters take it really serious. There's no the hatred, I don't think, in terms of the Celtic and Rangers, but it's still a really intense derby and great games to play in terms of the atmosphere, Tynecastle phenomenal, Easter Road phenomenal, so great to play in as a player as well.
Yeah, Fulham 2, Sheffield United 1. Wes Foderingham an own goal in that match, so clearly it's one of those ones where it's come off the keeper into the back of the net.
I think they're in trouble. I think they'll go down, Peter. I think he's been left in the lurch a wee bit, Heckingbottom. They've got them up. I don't think they've hardly spent a penny. I think a lot of these teams, Luton for example as well, they're just delighted to be there, bank the money. Even if they go down, they'll get a parachute payment.
Yep.
And then they'll maybe get back up next year or whatever, but they're just interested in actually getting there and getting that money.
Yeah, Heckingbottom was a strange time as a Hibs manager. He was one of those guys that I could go into a press conference and...
Wasn't he the most
no,
entertaining of characters, was he?
I would go into the press conference and come out demotivated.
Aye. I found that as well when I spoke to him a couple of times, or when I actually listened to him in press conferences.
Yeah.
He didn't inspire a lot of motivation for me is I want to go and play for that guy.
Yeah.
And, but to be fair to him, that's probably the only job he's failed at. He had a very short spell at Leeds, who at the time were just slacking managers left, right and centre, but done really well at Barnsley. He's done a great job at Sheffield United to get them in the Premier League.
Okay, let me tell you that in the game at Celtic Park, Kyle Vassell came close, couldn't get the ball into the back of the net, but the overall story of that match at Celtic Park is Celtic 3, Kilmarnock 1 in that game, and I think a lot of Celtic fans will be more than happy with what's unfolded there in that match, because Greg Taylor has got a goal. It's not often you see Greg scoring a goal, but he got the third one, which puts them in a comfortable position. Hearts 2, Hibs 2. Forest with an absolute cracker before Doidge scored an OG to put Hearts in a commanding position, but then Johan has come back with 2 really good goals, Tam, to draw it level at 2-2.
Yep, 2 great goals. First goal, roof of the net, fantastic finish, good feet in the box, and then second one, poor defending from, I think, Beningame. Or Civic, whoever it was, and he's just right in the path of Johan, but he takes it nice. He doesn't blast it, he just places it in the bottom corner. So, listen, Hibs have got those 2 goals out of nowhere. It looked as if Hearts were going to cruise to a victory, but it just shows you, a lapse of concentration for a couple of minutes in these types of games, and you get punished, and Johan's punished Hearts.
I can tell you right now, it's still Livingston 2, Motherwell 0. That'll be their 4th consecutive defeat for Stuart Kettlewell's side. They were down to 10 men. Lennon Miller sent off just on the stroke of half time. But Livingston, I beg your pardon, able to capitalise on that with the extra man. Bruce Anderson scoring in the 53rd minute. And then not long after that, 10 minutes to be precise, Sean Kelly scored from the penalty spot. And that'll be a welcome result for Livingston.
Yeah, it will be. I think that it was a big game for both teams. I think Livingston this season, as I said earlier, Peter, I don't think they've looked the same team this year. But at home, they're difficult to play against. They pick up a lot of the bulk of their points, obviously. They pick up at home, wet, windy day, and then, but the sending off changes the game. It's a young lad, a wee bit of inexperience, he pulls them back for the last man. And then from that sending off, you'd fancy Livingston going to win the game, and it looks as if they're going to do that. But no, it's a disappointing result, and it's a disappointing run for Motherwell at the moment. They'll be looking to try and get points back on the board as soon as possible, but for Livingston it'd be a great 3 points for David Martindale.
Yeah, absolutely, and I can tell you at this moment, Tam, that 6 additional minutes going to be added on for the Edinburgh Derby, so there might be a wee twist in the tail yet.
Peter, yeah. But I think if you offered Hibs a draw now, I think they would take it. I think that 2-0 down, you know, with half an hour to go, you know, to pick up a draw would be a great result. Hearts will be bitterly disappointed letting that slip. And I think at this moment in time, it'd be a better result for Hibs than it would be for Hearts.
Yeah, Ronnie says a good night out, Barry Ferguson. Barry is great in a night out, by the way.
We've had a few nights out with Barry.
We've had a right good few
Aye,
nights
on
out.
red wine, likes red wine.
Yes, absolutely.
What's up?
And of course,
I
I always had that feeling that you and I were just basically the security for him, just because we had to scan the room in case some dafty came up to annoy him.
I like the red wine.
Yeah,
Barry.
Yep. Absolutely. Full time at Celtic. Celtic 3, Kilmarnock 1. Celtic getting all 3 points there. And again for Brendan Rodgers, yet another chance to celebrate. I can't tell you, Scott McTominay has just equalised for Manchester United. And it's 93 minutes in that match where United salvage a point. McTominay, a guy who's not really fancied by Eric Ten Hag, but I can tell you right now, he's just managed to dig him out of a hole. It's incredible getting that goal. Daniel says, hi, I'm in South Africa. Jimmy Johnson would be a right good night out. Jimmy Johnson would be a really good night out, by the way. He was a really funny man and a world-class player. We didn't have too many world-class players down through the years, but he certainly comes into that category.
Oh, obviously, I'm too young to remember. I've never seen him playing, but I've seen all the videos. You know, even going to YouTube or whatever. Absolutely fantastic. He would beat a player, beat him again. And I think the most famous one was Di Stefano. Was it Di Stefano?
Yeah, testimonial. Yeah.
They absolutely ran amok, and all the Real Madrid fans were clapping them.
Yeah.
And desperate for Real Madrid to sign him. So that just shows you how good a player he was. He was so good to watch as well.
I think there's a great little anecdote from Jock Stein when somebody phoned him from Madrid to say we'd like to offer £100,000 for Jimmy Johnson. He said, for what match? Which sums it up nicely. I'm looking at the way things are going to pan out here, and it looks as if, you know, Celtic is a commanding lead of 10 points over Rangers before it gets to St Mirren. And St Mirren, obviously, you know, you think they're going to take something off Rangers?
I do, Peter. I said it yesterday in the show. I'd fancy St Mirren to beat Rangers, unless Steve Davis pulls something out the bag in terms of personnel, tactically, maybe playing a couple of younger boys who maybe hungrier. I wouldn't play Lammers, I wouldn't play Dessers if I was Stevie Davis. I wouldn't. I would play hungrier players. I don't think Dessers, he looks miles off at the minute, and Lammers, I mean, he's been really, really poor. And I think St Mirren will really, really fancy their chances tomorrow. I think that at home, they will put Rangers under severe pressure. And I'd fancy St Mirren to at least get a point out of the game. And I think Rangers would leave Rangers what?
Yeah, I can't tell you. Livingston 2, Motherwell 0. So Davy Martindale taking full advantage of Lennon Miller getting sent off for Motherwell, and it's Livy who get all 3 points there. Full-time Celtic winning by 3-1. Still going on in the Edinburgh Derby. I can tell you though, Tam, I'm just looking at what you're talking about there. You wouldn't play Lammers. Who else would you not play? Dessers? I mean, I look at the...
I think Kamar Roof will play.
Well, Kamar Roof is definitely an option. You get Cifuentes in there. Ross McCausland is one of the young boys that you were talking about that come on.
Well, Peter.
Yeah, and even when you look at the manner they've lost their goals, right at the heart of defence. So is John Suter worthy of it? Is he a poor signing for them? Sterling's there. They've got Kieran Wright, Leon King. You know, who can come on and make a difference to that Rangers side and change their fortunes? Stephen Davis is interim, and it's always difficult because you've just inherited the failures that a manager has been putting out in Michael Beale.
Yeah, I think it's a tough gig for Steve Davis. He obviously went to Limassol, lost the game.
Tam, Scott McTominay has scored again and won it for Man United, surely 2-1. I mean, that's outrageous.
He doesn't get a game for them, Peter. Somehow he doesn't play for Man United, and he's just saved the manager's bacon there. And that is vintage Man United. They always used to do that under Fergie. You know, get those late goals, and wow, what a comeback. That
is incredible, isn't it? And of course, from the point of view of the Edinburgh Derby, Tam, you never know, there might be a wee twist. There's still, maybe a minute or two left.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope Hibs can snatch a winner, but if not, don't lose the game. I think 2 each would be a good result for Hibs, being 2-0 down. I think we keep the manager's unbeaten record going, keep the feel-good factor going at Hibs. If they can get out of that result, out of that stadium with a 2 each draw, I think everybody connected with Hibs would be delighted. So if you can win it, great. If you can't, don't get beat. Take the point.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we will get the reaction from Patrick Mullen, who's at Tynecastle for that match. Hearts 2, Hibs 2. Hibs looked down and out, but Yuan has brought them back into it. He's one of those players, though, he can get you out of your seat, and then you're like, oh my God, what is he doing?
Typical winger. I think we see him on his days, he looks, what a player he is. And then other days he just makes the wrong decision, he holds on to the ball too long, he makes the wrong decision, doesn't pass, doesn't cross, shoots when he should cross when he should shoot. But it's just a typical winger, but he's capable of that. He's definitely capable of a bit of magic, and he looks as if he's actually pulled a point out of the fire for Hibs with his individual performance and goals.
Absolutely, and I have to tell you, Tam, it's finished Hearts 2, Hibs 2. That's a good point.
It's a great result for Hibs, Peter. I think seeing the first half, going 2-0 down at Tynecastle. Obviously they've done it before, famously in the Scottish Cup run, but not many Hibs teams come back from that sort of deficit at Tynecastle. So you've got to give the players an enormous amount of credit for coming back from a 2-0 deficit and getting a point. And by all accounts, he could have maybe nicked it at the end. So keeps Nick Montgomery's unbeaten run going. Keeps that 2-point gap. Hearts would have went 5 points clear of Hibs with a win. And I think you'll find coming out of that game that the Hearts will be really disappointed with the point, and Hibs will be delighted, and they both come out with a point.
Yeah, absolutely. So that game's finished, and I have to say, over the 90 minutes and beyond, Tam, it was a good game.
It was a good game. Two teams, intent to go and win the game. Most Edinburgh derbies are like that. I was never involved in an Edinburgh derby where the manager set us out to get a point or not to get beat. I think you go and try and win the game, and you've got two managers there, two young managers, Naismith and Montgomery, who are very attacking, very front foot coaches. They want to go and try and win the game. They want to go and get attempts at goal, get corners, play another team's half. And when you've got two managers like that who come up against each other, not taking a back step, you get a game like that. You get an end-to-end game, you get goals, and I'm sure everybody at the game would have been royally entertained with the 2 each draw.
Yeah, full time that game down south. Manchester United 2, Brentford 1. What a game! I mean, that is absolutely
incredible. That could be the turning point for the manager as well, Peter.
You think so?
I think that he's probably sitting there in 90 minutes thinking, I could get the sack here.
Yeah.
And then within 5 minutes, they've won the game, and that could be what he needs to go and kick on now. And it could be what Man United need, but he's got to keep playing him. Scott McTominay's a tremendous player. I think he's very underrated. He's playing Fernandes in there. He's got guys in there who I think McTominay's just as good as, and he's not been playing him. But I think he'll definitely start the next game after that.
Yeah, and well, I'm not saying it's a run of games. It's a win against Brentford. They've got Sheffield United away. You would expect them to win that, and then they've got Copenhagen in the Champions League. But of course, then after that, 29th of October, it's the City Derby, and it's at home. So it's at Old Trafford. They've got a few games to try and get themselves some sort of belief that they can do something. Yeah. And by the way, when you look at Manchester City, they've got Arsenal tomorrow. They've got Manchester United on the horizon.
That's why
if Tottenham could get a wee run,
I said that the other day. I think that the run that Tottenham have got, they've got a real good opportunity. If they take 9 points, they've took 3 today, take 6 for the next 2 games. I think Ange will get into November top of the league, and there's not a soul on earth down south who would have said Tottenham would have been top of the league in November. No one, because it was written off by everyone down the road. And I think it would be great for Ange. It'd be great for Scottish football, because we're obviously written off up here, and I think Ange was written off. It's a farmers' league up there. It's a one-team league and all that. But to see a guy who was successful here at Celtic go down to beat the biggest league in the world, really, and be successful as well, I think would be great. Would be a good outlook for our game as well up here.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's quite simply great to have you on board with us in this next hour. We will get reaction from the managers and players to the games that have finished in the Scottish Premiership. You can give us your view on it as well, and we'll obviously comment on it in the feed below, and feedback on Facebook, on Twitter, and on our YouTube channel as well. Celtic 3, Kilmarnock 1, Hearts 2, Hibs 2, and Livingston 2, Motherwell 0. That's how it finished in the Scottish Premiership. Dundee against Ross County. That match was postponed, and of course tomorrow St Mirren against Rangers, and Aberdeen take on St Johnstone. What about the Championship in Scotland? It's Ayr Orions 1, Ayr United 2, Dunfermline and Arbroath. That match was postponed. It's Inverness, Cally Thistle 0, Partick Thistle 0, Queen's Park 0, Greenock Morton 0, and Raith Rovers 1, Dundee United 1. In League 1 in Scotland, Cove Rangers 3, Annan Athletic 2, Elgin City 1, Kelty Hearts 4, Montrose 2, Alloa Athletic 1, Queen of the South 0, Stirling Albion 1, and in Scottish League 2 there was 3 matches that survived the weather. Clyde 0, Dumbarton 4, Forfar Athletic 1, Peterhead 3, and Stranraer 3, Spartans 4. 7 goals in that thriller there. In the English Premier League, in the scores today, the early kick-off was Luton Town 0, Tottenham Hotspur 1, Burnley 1, Chelsea 4, Everton 3, Bournemouth 0, and it's Manchester United 2, Brentford 1, and Fulham 2, Sheffield United 1 is a latest score, not too far away from being confirmed as a full-time. And it looks as if it's Fulham 3, Sheffield United 1 is how that match is going to finish. So it looks as if Fulham have added another one there right at the end. Willian has scored deep into injury time. So that's how it looks, and I think Nick Montgomery, certainly the happier manager of the two, and again giving a strong indication that his side are showing a wee bit of mettle, and they're certainly responding to his instructions.
Yeah, listen, Peter, I think you've got to have a bit of courage. You've got to have a bit of, a bit of grit and determination to come back from 2-0 down at Tynecastle. They got that goal from Eli Johan to get the quick equaliser, 2 each, and then it was anybody's game. But I think the important thing for Hibs was not to lose the game. Having that, getting back from 2-0 down, and coming out of Tynecastle with at least a point. As I said, Hearts are 2 points ahead of Hibs. I think that gap would have grown to 5. With a win for Hearts, so I think Nick Montgomery will be delighted with that result. He'll be delighted with the second half performance. He needed a reaction at half time. He's obviously went in and read the right act at half time, and Hibs have come out and been much better the second half, and probably deserved the draw in the second half performance. But in terms of Hearts, they'll be bitterly disappointed that they've not won the game. 2-0 up at home, you would expect Hearts to go and win the game, but no, Nick Montgomery started strongly. He started well, and that will just endear him even more to the Hibs fans getting out of the
Yeah, Fiona Docherty says, hi guys, are you not doing your shows on Facebook anymore? No, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you get all the content, Tam. It's fairly easy. Go on to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, you get so many different programmes and live news as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just switched to YouTube, Fiona, from Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. And on Facebook, we like to read out a few actual messages. And of course, Fiona says she loves the show. But if you get onto our YouTube channel, so many people, Fiona, are doing that. And Grant Stewart, who's an Australian Jambo, says these games need to be televised. I love them being televised as well. I just think it's fantastic to promote the game in Edinburgh, because it is a good derby, and certainly on the evidence of today, it's the type of game everybody wants to jump into.
On TV. I mean, listen, we've said to a blue in the face. I mean, that game should be on the TV. It shouldn't be. Grant's obviously in Australia. They said there that people worldwide should be able to watch the game. He's maybe watched it on Hearts TV or whatever, but that game should be live on either terrestrial TV or Sky Sports. There's no doubt about that. Celtic Rangers game is the biggest fixture in the country, but Hibs and Hearts is definitely second in terms of the supporters, the fan bases, the clubs. That's the second biggest game, and every Edinburgh Derby for me should be part of the package that Sky provide.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, someone's just said Hibs are looking good right now under Nick Montgomery. Can see the change in the team, and I think that is exactly.
Maybe change in mentality as well, Peter. I don't think a Lee Johnson team comes back there for 2-0 down. I think they crumble and maybe get beat 3-0. Or 4-0. I think they've got a wee bit of steel under them under Nick Montgomery. And as I said, to come back from 2-0 down at Tynecastle, there's no many Hibs teams can do that. And they've came back, they've got the 2 quick goals, and they've seen the game out. So I think Nick Montgomery and every Hibs supporter will be delighted with that result. Yeah, not only delighted with the result, but the manner of the goals as well from Yuan, who's the first goal was an absolute belter from inside the penalty box, and the second one he showed a bit of composure. Yeah, but that's not always been the case with Ellie. As I said earlier, he's very hot or cold. He's up and down, and the first finish obviously gives him confidence. He's scoring in Edinburgh Derby. It gives you're buzzing after it. You're wanting the ball again. The ball falls to him quickly. In the box after that, and you're right. He shows composure. Easy to blast that. He blasts the first one at the roof of the net, which I think he probably had to, and then the second one he's got to place it. because there's bodies in front of him. He's got to find that bottom corner, and he just side foots it in. So it showed both sides to him. You know, he's got that clinical edge in the final third where he blasts it. Another one, he's got the finesse to feather it into the corner.
Yeah, just elsewhere in that Celtic situation, Tam, when you look at the goals that they scored today as well, Hatate, Palmer chips in with a goal now, and of course you've been waxing lyrical about what that boy will offer. He certainly has showed signs that he's going to be a big player for Celtic. As far as the other goal that was scored by Greg Taylor, it's a 3-1 win for Celtic. It puts them in such a commanding position in the Scottish Premiership. I can't see anyone stopping Celtic, catching them in any capacity whatsoever. Can you? Do you think a new manager at Rangers will make all the difference? Is it still a possibility that Rangers could win the title? Can he somehow buck the trend, whoever that man will be? Let's get the thoughts of Patrick Mullen on that great derby that we were talking about today. It finished honours even. Patrick's there at Tynecastle for Hearts against Hibs.
Full-time here at Tynecastle Park, and it has finished Harder Midlothian 2, Hibernian 2. Stephen Naismith's side have squandered a 2-goal lead in the second half to give Hibs a point in the first Edinburgh Derby of the season. Hearts were cruising. They were 2-0 up in the 57th minute. The first one coming through Alan Forrest in the first half, a wonder strike into the top right-hand corner, and the second, an own goal. Christian Deutsch having a swipe really at an Alex Lowry shot, and it flew into the back of the net. Hibs though turned this game around in 83 seconds. That was the time in between their two goals, and it was 2 goals for Eli Yuhan. They looked exactly the same. He got on the end of the ball and smashed it into the roof of the net. Delight for these 3,000 Hibs fans who have managed to get a point, and questions have to be asked about Stephen Naismith and his choice to make the tactical and substitutes in the second half. But at full time here at Tynecastle Park, it has finished Harder Midlothian 2, Hibernian 2.
Apologies for the sound on that there, Patrick.
Sounds like Dalek.
I was just about to say he did have some technical issues there getting the report out, but nevertheless the report itself talks about a great comeback for Hibs. What do you make of that? Give us your thoughts on it, because suddenly Hibs just tucked in nicely behind Hearts. Only a couple of points separate them, Tam, at the table.
Yeah, as I said, it was important that Hibs never got beat today, Peter. I think that obviously that gap would have grown to 5 points with a Hearts win. Hearts sitting in 4th, Hibs sitting in 7th, only 2 points, between them. Aberdeen, 3 points behind. So there's a lot of clubs jockeying for position. Listen, I wouldn't expect St Mirren to end up, second this season. I think Rangers will ultimately finish second. But if St Mirren can get a result tomorrow, 6 points going into the international break, is a handy gap. So St Mirren appear to be this season a surprise package so far, but I would still expect Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen to be competing for that third place.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you contest anything I'm talking about with regards to Celtic? Because we're about to look towards St Mirren, Rangers and Aberdeen St Johnstone. We'll also hear from Alison McConnell and her report from Livingston against Motherwell. But do you agree with the whole Celtic situation? It's a strange situation, because Celtic fans can be on the high from what they're producing domestically, and then, of course, I thought they played really well against Lazio, but the low is that you lose the game.
Listen, Peter, I think it's difficult for Celtic at the minute. If you're a Celtic supporter, you're obviously wanting to see the club in the Champions League. But there was a stat this morning that Celtic have not won a Champions League home game in 10 years. I found that absolutely astonishing. 10 years since Celtic won at home in the Champions League. So that shows you the shift in the gap from the bigger clubs to the likes of Celtic. And I think Celtic would be, listen, we've spoken about it so many times, Peter, Europa League. Celtic would be competitive in the Europa League. They'd be able to go on a run, I think, in my opinion, get out the group stages, get in the knockout stages, and then you never know. You could maybe do a Rangers and get to a final. There's absolutely no chance of doing that in the Champions League. The Champions League is miles ahead of the Europa League.
Is there a chance to do it with better recruitment?
Yeah, of course there is, Peter. But Celtic, we've spoken about it so many times. Celtic have got their policy is sign players, young players, at £2-3 million and try and sell them on for 10, 15, 20 with a big sell-on clause. They've done it in the past. Van Dijk, obviously, they've done it with Wanyama. Frimpong, who they're going to do it with, he's going to go for massive money. So that's the model. Celtic are not going to get in the market for 10, 50 million pound players. First and foremost, they can't afford the fee, and secondly, they can't afford the wages that come with that. So I think this is going to be it for Celtic, unless there's a dramatic change at the top at Celtic in terms of Dermot Desmond, the board, saying, listen, there's extra money, you can go and pay somebody 30 grand a week, 40 grand a week, and there's 10 million to go and sign that player, or 15 million. I don't think it's going to happen. So unless Celtic do that, they are where they are, and they're always going to be miles short of Champions League level, and even getting into third place to try and stay in Europe after Christmas is too far, a bridge too far at the minute.
Well, that only exists from this season, Tam. You're aware of that. Next season, there's no drop into the Europa League.
All right.
So it's going to be just a straight 8 games, possibly 10 for some, and you get 60 million minimum.
So is it a bigger group? Is there more teams in the group?
There's more teams in the group, and you will play 8 games, and then obviously you will drop into a playoff situation to try and get into the knockout stages. So depending on where you're finishing after those 8 games, you could play a further 2 games to then go into the knockout stages of the tournament. All in all, you will guarantee yourself £60 million, and then there's no drop into the Europa League. So from that perspective, Celtic are on a huge kitty next season if they win the league this season. So that makes them even stronger again.
But they seem to be stockpiling that money, just saving it, and then for what? What's?
Well, it might all become apparent, but
to dominate domestically, which is fine. The Celtic supporters great, keep winning the league every year, keep getting that money, win a treble. But ultimately, Celtic supporters want to see the club making an impact in Europe. You know, the club's been built on European success in the past. Is there going to come a time where they're going to go, right, listen, we need to, if we're going to make a dent in this Champions League, we need to spend more money? Is there going to come a point where they do that? I don't know. Yeah,
well, it's a big incentive for Celtic to make sure they're in the Champions League. If you get 2 teams in the Champions League, we need to maintain the coefficient. Only, I think, just over 2 points in the coefficient from the midweek performances. Not good enough. Needs, over the course of the European campaigns, we need to get somewhere between 7 and 10 points. And with that 7 and 10 points, that maintains keeping us in the top 10 countries in Europe, and that allows you to get an automatic place.
You're obviously the other team in guaranteed group stages, you're an Aberdeen or a Hibs or a Hearts.
Absolutely,
as well.
And it's a huge kitty. So you need that sort of commitment, you need that sort of performance out of teams to get more coefficient points, and we definitely, obviously the international side helps enormously as well, but we need certainly in the club situation a lot of points from Celtic, Rangers and in this case Aberdeen if they can. So that's the incentive for Celtic, but it's also an incentive for Rangers, and they have to win against St Mirren, Tam. The interim manager is Stephen Davis. The new manager, when he comes, who he is still a mystery to everyone. Rangers will
Lampard's been
well, Lampard's ruled out, and I'm glad Lampard is ruled out, because it's just a ridiculous suggestion.
A lot of Rangers fans weren't too happy with that either. I don't think he's got a great record as a manager. I think he was a fantastic footballer. Probably one of, if not the best ever Chelsea player. Tremendous player. Broke all the goal scoring records there, but went to Derby County, done okay with Derby. Went to Chelsea, I think they've done an embargo in terms of transfers, done okay with them, and then went to Everton and was poor. I think Dyche came in and saved them, or else I think they were going down under Lampard. So I don't think the Rangers fans were wanting him, but there's a few names out there who, I think Glasner, the guy from Eintracht Frankfurt, would be an interesting one. Kevin Muscat's always been one at the top of my mind. I think he was in the running to get it before Michael Beale. He's obviously came through under Ange, at Yokohama. Don't think they've got, obviously probably get similar, in terms of priorities and how they want to play, but I think he's the one for me, Kevin Muscat, in terms of Rangers. I think he knows the club, he's played at Rangers. He was a feisty character as a player. I think he's a winner, he's done well at Yokohama, he's done well in Melbourne. I think he'd be the one for me for Rangers. Whether they have to wait, I think his contract's up maybe next month or 2.
Yeah.
I think whether they can afford to wait for him, I don't know, but I think in terms of the names that have been mentioned, I think for Rangers, I think Muscat would be the best option.
In the immediate future, it's going to the Smiths Stadium, St Mirren against Rangers, and this is a St Mirren side that really, when you look at their start to the season, they only had 2 defeats overall, 3 draws, and then it's just a raft of wins, 8 wins. It's been fantastic for Stephen Robinson. This is what the St Mirren manager had to say ahead of this big match against Rangers.
And when we look statistically with us against Rangers, you know, we're on par with them. It isn't by luck, it isn't by chance. And, you know, we go into the game knowing that we need to produce that again. And as you say, with that incentive to go clear of them. But they'll obviously have the incentive to get their season back up and running again and close the gap on ourselves. So it's a tough game, but one we're looking forward to.
Yeah, again, Stephen Robinson, I think he'll be filled with confidence because of the way they are playing. And when you look at the overall wins, you've got to say to yourself, okay, you know, he's had some good wins along the way. Hearts, one of them, Motherwell as well, good win. This is the testing period now because obviously they've got Rangers and then Ross County, St Johnstone and Celtic on the horizon.
Yeah, but I think at home, Peter, I think they're really strong. I think last season I think they took points off of both. I think they were obviously the only team that beat Celtic at home. You know, comfortable 2-0 win. I think they took points off of Rangers under Van Bronckhorst. So at home, they're a formidable team. Not many teams go to St Mirren and beat them under Stephen Robinson. So listen, Rangers need to roll the sleeves up tomorrow. The team lines will be interesting. I think Steve Davis would have learned a lot the other night in terms of players. Obviously, don't think Steve Davis is going to be there long term as a manager, so he will pick whatever team he thinks can win the game. I don't think he'll be bothered about how much people cost. I think he'll be looking at players that he thinks can win them a game. That might be a young player, it might be a Kamar Roof, you know, it might be somebody else coming in from the cold. And I think the team line is going to be incredibly important for Rangers because St Mirren will come out and they will get after Rangers early doors for me. I think they will stick balls in behind, they'll test those back two, who were really poor in Limassol. Whether he brings, you mentioned it earlier, John Suter, whether he comes back in. I thought that Golston and Davis were really, really poor the other night in Cyprus. So, you know, that team sheet's going to be intriguing to see if Rangers can get off to a good start and win the game. But I think if a St Mirren fan, you're a St Mirren player, St Mirren manager, you're sniffing blood. I think that you're sniffing blood. A Rangers team that's lacking confidence, not got a manager. And I think you'll never get a better chance as a St Mirren player, a St Mirren team to beat Rangers tomorrow. Yeah,
Aberdeen St Johnstone is the other match. Bojan Miovski scored the all-important goal that in the end earned them a point in the Europa Conference League against HJK Helsinki on Thursday evening at Pittodrie. And he reckons goals will be the key again. He's got to start scoring them for the Dons when they come up against St Johnstone.
Yeah, we need to continue to play on this way. We to high press, and I think that we will score goals in Sunday.
Yeah, short and sweet from Boja. That's the shortest answer in an interview I've ever heard in my life. But anyway,
caught my phone again.
I was just about to say, hopefully the pizza will come. Hopefully a longer report from Alison McConnell, who watched Livingston get all 3 points against Motherwell.
Livingston 2, Motherwell 0. Davy Martindale's side took all the spoils from this one after a strong second half performance. Bruce Anderson and Sean Kelly providing the goals, but this game all hinged on the dismissal of teenager Lennon Miller on the cusp of half time. The teenager was dismissed after he'd upended Mackay, who looked to burst through following Bruce Anderson's run. That entirely changed the game, with Livingston dominating the second period. For Motherwell, that's 4 successive league defeats now, and it was a fairly toothless performance from them. They offered very little in an attacking sense. Livingston could and should have won by more given the possession and dominance they enjoyed in the second period. Substitute Stephen Bradley had tapped an effort just wide of the target from close range. Well, there might have been a second penalty too before Don Robertson had checked VAR and decided that the foul had taken place outside the box. A dominant win for Livingston, much to think about though for Motherwell. It finished here, Livingston 2, Motherwell 0.
Yeah, good win for Livingston. That moves them up the table now, just level on points with Motherwell 10 points, then Hearts on 11, Rangers on 12, St Mirren on 15 and Celtic on 22. That's a full 10 points ahead of Rangers, who will look at the game tomorrow, and it's a must win if they want to try and somehow keep a sense of that they can catch Celtic. There are still derbies ahead that they can face them, but I think they want to try and give the next manager not too big a gap to try and keep the season alive.
Yeah, listen, I think it is a must-win game. I think if you've got any aspirations of winning the league this season, you've got to win. You've got to keep that gap at 7 points. Still obviously to play each other, 3 times. So, no, you've got to keep that gap. If it goes to 10 points, it's a massive task for Rangers and the new manager that comes in to win the league. But as I said earlier, I find it very difficult to really predict a Rangers win tomorrow. I just think the way they're playing the last 2 games, they look terrible at the back, against Aberdeen and the other night in Cyprus, and I think they'll get punished by St Mirren. So remains to be seen, but Rangers need to win the game. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as the other match is concerned, Aberdeen against St Johnstone, are we witnessing maybe Aberdeen just starting to get into a groove now? Obviously, they didn't lose the match. It was slightly disappointing, I think, the overall performance. But I've certainly seen signs in the back-to-back wins over Ross County that they're starting to get something together. And I think the linchpin for them is Shinnie in the middle of the park.
Yeah, it just remains to be seen how they cope, Peter, with the Thursday Sunday schedule. It's a very difficult schedule to play on a Thursday night. The high euphoria of a big European game, to come back and play a run-of-the-mill team in St Johnstone where I expected to win. So, no, I would still expect Aberdeen to win. I think St Johnstone look poor this season. They've looked poor since the start of the season, even from the Betfred Cup, where they were really, really poor. They took a couple of defeats from lower league opposition. I don't think they've improved any. I don't think he's improved the squad. So I would thoroughly expect Aberdeen still to have far too much for St Johnstone at home and win the game. Yeah,
the biggest problem I think for St Johnstone with that board who clearly want to move on and look for new investment as well is, you've got a manager who can't get anything out of the players. He's inexperienced. Obviously, he's been a coach in the background, Stephen McLean, and you're saying to yourself, can he get it? I think St Johnstone are in danger of being cut off shortly.
Yeah, they are, particularly obviously Livingston winning today. I think that's a big result for them. Pulls them, well clear at the bottom as well. Ross County, game is off against Dundee, so they have the game in hand, obviously. But yeah, I think St Johnstone need to start picking up points. I don't think they've won a game this season, and I don't see that changing against Aberdeen. I think Aberdeen have got a wee bit of depth as well in their squad. Barry Dobson can change 3 or 4 players tomorrow and freshen it up. And I think they'll have far too much for a St Johnstone side to look toothless at the minute as well going forward.
Yeah, they've got a home game coming up after that against Motherwell and then St Mirren, then Kilmarnock. And those are teams, and then Ross County, those are teams going into November where you're saying to yourself, where's the point coming from?
Yeah, you've got listen, St Johnstone, Aberdeen, difficult game, away from home, Celtic, Rangers, Hibs, Hearts. The big games for them are going to be Livingston, St Mirren, Ross County, Dundee, teams that you think you can take points off of, Kilmarnock. And if you can win those games, then they're essentially 6 pointers, because those teams are going to be round about you at the bottom, particularly Dundee and Ross County. So I don't see how he's going to change it. I don't think he's got any squad depth either, Stephen McLean at St Johnstone. And he's really up against it. It's a difficult job for him. They cut the budget massively at the start of the season as well. He's cutting his teeth in his first job, and it's been incredibly difficult for him. So if they get beat tomorrow, I think there'll be a lot of calls maybe to change the manager even this early.
Big win for Celtic today, puts them 10 points clear of Rangers. But again, let's not forget that St Mirren, who take on Rangers tomorrow, are 3 points ahead of Rangers at the top of the Cinch Premiership. And I mentioned the Cinch Premiership with the news that Cinch are going to pull out of their deal. There's a clause for them to pull out early, Tam. There will be wild speculation on why they've decided to take advantage of the clause. Some have suggested that they're obviously cutting back on their marketing now because they've got such a strong brand. But others may well be looking at it and saying the whole fallout, disagreement with Rangers, the deal that was in place that never really materialised with everybody on board would have been certainly one of the deciding factors in saying no, enough is enough.
I think it's probably the latter, Peter. I think in terms of Rangers, if you've got one of the biggest clubs in the country, not advertising their brand, whether that's at games, press conferences, social media, there's been a complete blanket ban of cinch from Rangers. They're obviously not happy with the deal. They've obviously aired that publicly as well. So I think that's the main factor. Celtic Rangers, you need to get the biggest brands on board. If you're putting money in, you need to be plastered all over Parkhead. You need to be plastered all over, Ibrox in terms of sponsorship, getting your brand name out there. And if one of the biggest clubs is not happy and not showing, I think they were putting bits of paper over their name at press conferences and interviews. So I think that's probably the main reason why Cincher thought, what's the point in us keeping putting money in?
Yeah, it puts a lot of real pressure on Neil Doncaster and the SPFL board trying to get other sponsors on the back of, do other clubs start to complain about certain deals because they've got sponsorship with maybe a brand in a similar market? These are big questions that you're going to be asked, and it's also going to be very, very difficult to try and attract sponsors when you really portray an image of a group of people just always fighting with each other.
Yeah, it doesn't seem. It's always one club or two clubs that are not happy with the sponsorship deal. You're right. There's a lot of clubs who have got individual in-house sponsors in terms of, it might be a strip sponsor or a stadium sponsor or whatever. So there'll be a lot of brands that they can't actually agree on. But hopefully Neil Doncaster and the marketing team at the SPFL, are out there scouring the market for a sponsor that everybody's going to be happy with. That's going to be difficult because someone will complain about something somewhere along the line. But I think we've got a great brand in Scottish football. I think we've got a great product. We're a country that's football mad, and
certainly got a great brand and enthusiastic support who, per head of population, watch the games. Somewhere along the line, Tam, we could have more money, and this is what people don't realise from a European perspective. We could have more money in the game by attracting more sponsors if we put out a unified collective responsibility of, an image of we're all together, certainly a stronger marketing plan that could bring in more sponsorship. With more sponsorship, the clubs get more money, attract better players, or invest in younger talent, certainly homegrown talent. We would not have to suffer talking about Rangers, losing to a Cypriot side who were poor, to say the least, Celtic losing to Lazio, and of course Aberdeen drawing with a team from Finland.
It's all got an effect on it, Peter. It all trickles down into the game in terms of results, and you're right, the more money we've got in terms of sponsorship, the more money that clubs can get. They can invest in infrastructure, they can invest in the youth setup, they can employ more coaches, they can get better training facilities. So it's all relevant in terms of results, in terms of European football. So no, listen, the cinch deal was done during COVID, and there was a lot of squabbling in COVID in terms of clubs getting relegated, leagues getting called early. Clubs not happy with this, clubs not happy with that. Hopefully now it's a clean sweep and we can get everybody on board, because you're right, you can't have one, particularly with Celtic and Rangers, you can't have one, not showing the sponsor, another one showing the sponsor. It needs to be everybody on board, but particularly the big two, because evidently they're going to be the ones that attract the big sponsors. 60,000 people walking in, there's a sponsor right in front of them. It's great advertising for them, and if one team's not doing it, then there's no point in these big companies putting the money in, really. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, if you have joined us or have been through the afternoon with us, thank you very much for your support. This is the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Saturday results. We like to have a natter about football, talk about the big games, the goals, the key players, and reaction from you, the fans, as well. We'd love to hear from you if you want to put a message in our YouTube channel and on our Facebook and Twitter as well, to discuss the overall results today. Celtic 3, Kilmarnock 1, Hearts 2, Hibs 2, and Livingston 2, Motherwell 0 in the Scottish Premiership. Lots to talk about there. Of course, really positive result for Celtic, and we've been discussing the fallout from the game against Lazio, which was painful for a lot of Celtic fans. And as Tam mentioned there, I think over the 20 Champions League games that numerous managers have been assessed, Brendan Rodgers has the poorest record with only 2 wins out of the 20 games, Tam.
Yeah, listen, it's a really poor record. Listen, we know the gap between Champions League now and the bigger clubs, your Bayerns, your PSGs, your English teams, to Celtic, but you would still expect them to win more games than that, particularly at home. Celtic You know, I remember back when I was playing early 2000s, that Martin O'Neill Celtic team were taking massive scalps. I understand that Martin had a bigger pot. You know, he was signing quality players, paying £5-6 million players in Henrik Larsson. You know, but they were beating teams like Juventus and Barcelona. So I think the gap's grown bigger now in terms of, you know, the finances. But Celtic Park should be a fortress. You shouldn't, you know, Lazio, they're a good side. Listen, they're a good team, they're an Italian team. They spent a lot of money, but you would expect Celtic not to get beat. I didn't expect Celtic to get beat the other night, and they did, and that just, you know, that run continues in terms of Celtic not winning a home Champions League game. I think it's 10 years now, which I found was a staggering statistic when you see how good Celtic were, even under Gordon Strachan. You know, and Martin O'Neill then Gordon Strachan. You know, even how strong they were at home. AC Milan, remember beating AC Milan at home as well. So Celtic were used to taking big scalps back in the day, and those days look as if they're gone now.
Yeah, domestically though, they just look as if they're going to be unchallenged unless there's a sea change. And everybody sometimes is insular in what we're looking at, Tam, but they're at the top of the table right now. And, you know, it's not any different from a Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich have won the league in Germany for the last 11 seasons, 11 consecutive title wins. For Celtic, you know, there was that win for Steven Gerrard, but unless Rangers can change their fortunes dramatically, you've just witnessed a treble from Ange Postecoglou's side off the back of that. Now you've got Brendan Rodgers slowly but surely getting his side to a level that he wants them to play at, where they look good against Lazio. Unlucky, I'll give them that. They were unlucky. They played some nice football, but suddenly even Kilmarnock can't get even near them.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's really important for Rangers to win the League Cup, Peter. I think that trophies have been very, very scarce at Rangers. You know, you mentioned the league camp, stopping the 10 in a row, which was, it was the main one for Rangers supporters, just stopping the 10. But in terms of winning trophies, you know, Rangers, that trophy cabinet is bare. It has been bare for the last 10, 11 years, and that's why winning the League Cup is so important. Celtic are out. You know, Celtic have dominated everything here in terms of the league and cups. So Rangers will never get a better opportunity to win the League Cup than now when Celtic been out, and they've got to go and take advantage of that, because, as you said, I think the gap between Celtic and Rangers is only going to get bigger in terms of trophies, in terms of the league, and this might be the best opportunity Rangers get in a long time to win a trophy.
Yeah, I've got to ask you though, Tam, do you think they're going to win it?
If you'd have asked me 2 weeks ago, I'd have said yes, but on the last couple of performances, I think there's a bit of doubt there. I think that all the other three teams, you know, Hearts, Aberdeen, Hibs, will fancy it on any given day, beating that Rangers team. They're not playing well. The players are lacking confidence. You know, they're getting a lot of abuse from the supporters. And it's one of those where if Rangers play, obviously Rangers are playing Hearts at Hampden, if Hearts score first, you know, that it's going to be toxic in terms of the Rangers players. How do they perform? How do they handle that? Rangers are still favourites to win the League Cup, but I think the other three teams again will have a great opportunity if they turn up one day. They can certainly beat this Rangers team.
Yeah, give us your thoughts on that as well. We'd love to hear from you. On a day when the real big game of the day, everybody was looking forward to it, certainly looking forward to it to be live, that you could have watched it, but it wasn't to be. It kicked off at 3 o'clock. We can't have it both ways. Some people want games kicking off at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, and none better than the Edinburgh Derby. Hearts raced into a 2-goal lead, and Hibs fought back, Tam.
They did, brilliant. As I said, at 2-0 down with 55, 56 minutes played, you're thinking, you know, it's going to be a comfortable Hearts win. Another defeat for Hibs at Tynecastle. We were talking about the record there. But fair play to Hibs. You know, Eli Johan gets them back into the game with a great goal, and then, near enough, but 83 seconds after that, they get equaliser. So I think you've got to give Hibs a lot of credit for having that grit and determination and not chucking it, not bottling it. And Hearts will go, listen, both teams get a point, but in terms of who'll be the happier, there's absolutely no doubt that Nick Montgomery will be the happier tonight than getting that point than Stephen Naismith, who 2-0 up, must have been thinking that we've got this game won. Yeah, scoring 1 goal is special, but for Johan, scoring 2 is absolutely memorable for him. I don't think he'll ever forget it. And his contribution, slowly but surely, you're actually looking at him and thinking, you know, I think there's more and more consistency from him. Last season he was a bit hot and cold, but if you get 2 goals in a derby, Tam, everybody talks about Martin Boyle
and what he contributes. And we've looked at Lafondra and Venti who've been bought, but Johan has stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, he has. And listen, Hibs paid 500 grand for him. No, it's a big fee for Hibs, a club like Hibs, to pay that £500,000 for him. He's only 22, 23-year-old. He could be a £5 million player, Peter, for Hibs. He could, and he could equally be getting released at the end of his contract. He's very hot and cold. On his day like today, he looks a fantastic footballer. But there's other days I watch him at Easter Road and you're pulling your hair out. He's making the wrong decisions. He's not crossing. He should be shooting. But that'll give him tons of confidence. To score 2 goals in a derby at Tynecastle will give him massive confidence. And as I said, if he can keep that consistency up, Hibs have got a big, prospect in their hands. Yeah,
okay. I'm not going to push you on where you think they can finish this season. Certainly a good result in the derby. Here's how the table looks, Tam. What's your assessment of it now?
Listen, I think Celtic win the league. I think Celtic will win the league by double digits. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They're by far the strongest team and squad with the best manager. So I think you can forget Celtic at the top. They've won the league. I think Rangers will finish second. But in terms of third, you've got Hearts up there, Hibs, Aberdeen. Aberdeen, the only thing for me that could hamstring them is European football. I still think Hibs are capable of finishing third. I really do. They've got a little bit of a gap, obviously, to St Mirren at the minute. If St Mirren win tomorrow, they put themselves in a really strong position. But I think if you want to be the top 3 from me, then now it'd be Celtic, Rangers, and Hibs. And then at the bottom, I think St Johnstone will go down. I think they'll finish bottom, and I think that Ross County might finish second bottom.
Yeah, okay. Interesting that you should say that. I'm going to stick with my prediction. Aberdeen to get third place. I think they'll make a wee move, and I think they've got players there that certainly should be performing better than they are. Whether Barry Robson can slowly but surely get them to the point he wants them to. I've certainly seen signs, Tam, that suggest to me that Aberdeen can go on a wee run.
I think the squad spent money as well, Peter. I think it was refreshing to see clubs like Hibs and Aberdeen actually paying fees. Clubs like that don't usually pay fees for players. They got the boy Clarkson up from Liverpool. We paid a fee for him. So no, I think that Aberdeen have got a strong squad, and I think they will get stronger as the season goes on. Once they depart from the European scene, which I think will be at the earliest possibility in terms of that group, then they can just concentrate on 1 game a week, in terms of the league campaign. I think it's difficult for them now, Thursday, Sunday, their squad depth will get tested, but no, I think they should be in the mix for third, plus the money they've banked as well, Peter, for this European run. They can strengthen the squad big time in January as well. Yeah,
and they've got a run of 4 games in the league, which I think they'll be looking at and thinking winnable. St Johnstone tomorrow, Dundee, Kilmarnock and Motherwell.
Great run of games. Yeah, you're right. And as I said, you should be looking as an Aberdeen fan, as an Aberdeen player manager, 12 points. That should be 12 points. If you've got any aspirations of being up there in the third place, you're looking to take 12 points from those 4 games. Yeah, and of course St Johnstone, I think they need to I think the Browns need to find someone who's going to take it on, invest in them, and it might be a drop down to the Championship is the next step. Yeah, I think they've been fortunate in previous seasons, Peter. Obviously they survived a couple of seasons ago against Inverness in that playoff game. They won 4-0 at home. I think Inverness ran out of steam after coming through the playoffs. And then last season, they were in trouble as well. But I think they were a wee bit fortunate at times when Stephen first took over. A lot of the teams they were playing against went down to 10 men. They managed to get out of it. But this season, I don't think they're going to get out of it this season. I think their squad's not strong enough. And I don't think there's a pot there in January. If they are 7-8 points adrift, I don't think there's a pot there to give the manager and say, right, we need to get into trouble. There's X amount of money, go and sign 5 or 6 players. I don't think St Johnstone have got that. Ross County have got it, do it every year. So I think that'll dictate St Johnstone's demise as well. I think they will finish bottom. Yeah, the one team that I probably might get wrong in the second bottom position, Tam, is I have Livingston in there. But David Martindale today and on countless occasions before, they dig the way out it. Well, they do dig. But if anything, he's a manager who embarrasses other managers, because on his budget, Livingston should be bottom. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at their budget in terms of what they pay players. They can only pay £1,000, £1,500 a week, which is light years away for even Aberdeen Hibs. So their top earners will be that kind of money, and that'll be the lowest in the league for me. And You're right. They can only give 1 year contracts out, 2 year contracts. Every player they get, you know, that does well moves on because they want to get more money. They want to get a bigger club. So he's constantly got to evolve that squad every year in 1 and 2 year deals. So I think that David's done a great job at Livingston. You know, they're sitting in the top half of the table at the minute as well. So will he stay there long term? You know, I think he'd be looking to move on at some point. But whether another club with his background would take a punt on him, I'm not so sure.
Yeah. Celtic way out in front at the top of the Scottish Premiership. Hatate was man of the match today. Is he slowly but surely getting into it again? If anything, you know, I think Celtic at the moment look towards the midfield trio and Kyogo as the main, you know, they're the linchpin of that side and the success of it. You know, that midfield trio, McGregor, O'Reilly, Hatate. Hatate, you know, obviously is the key player that they want on a long-term deal because they'll get money for him.
Yeah, they'll definitely get money for Hatate. I think I didn't think it was particularly great during the week, Peter, against Lazio.
Neither did I.
A great game. By all accounts, he was back on it today. He needs a run of games. I think he's obviously had a stop-start season. He picked up an injury up at Aberdeen. He picked up an injury during the game. He needs to get a consistent run of games, get his legs back, you know, get his fitness, get his match fitness. He's a terrific talent. Listen, we've seen it in the last couple of seasons. He's a very, very good player. And Celtic are obviously desperate to get him tied down as well. So, no, I think that he is somebody that Celtic can move on for big money in the future.
And they'll be away to Hearts before they have that next game against Atletico Madrid. I don't think I'm being unkind to them. You know, I can't see a point for Celtic until they get to match day 6.
I don't think they're going to get anything out of Atletico Madrid, Peter, over the 2 games. I think they're pretty good this season. I think they know how to win games under Simone as well. Take those 2 games away, Lazio away, don't see it. I thought Lazio showed in spells at Parkhead that they're a good side. And Feyenoord at home, you know, that could be. You're right, that could be the one. But Feyenoord could go into that game needing something from the game. So I think Celtic's best opportunity was the other night, and unfortunately blew it in the last minute with that goal. But I think it would be very disappointing for Celtic not to get a point in this group, especially when you seen at the start of the group, a lot of Celtic fans thought, maybe we could finish third here, maybe we could do something. There's not a big gun in there in terms of Man City or a Bayern Munich, and to come out of this group with 0 points would be pretty embarrassing, I think.
Brendan Rodgers' 700th game in charge today. It's a huge milestone for him. There is absolutely no doubt that he's a top coach. And he will want to make players better, and he certainly will want to, I think, try and enhance his European reputation. So he's not going to. I'm not for a minute suggesting he's going to be happy to constantly be taking defeats. Although I've said I can't see him getting a point somewhere, he will be hopefully looking at it and saying, well, if we can somehow get to third in his mind. I'm not so sure they can. I think they'll finish bottom.
They need to beat Atletico Madrid at home. You know, I don't think they're not getting anything away. They're not getting anything in Spain. Let's be honest. I think Atletico will win that game comfortably. Their best chance should be theoretically at home at Celtic Park, but everybody thinks there's seems to be a myth now that Celtic are very strong at home in European games.
Yeah.
You know, it's a fortress Parkhead. It's not.
No, it's just
not a fortress. It's just a loud stadium.
It's a big sing song, and then it goes flat.
Yeah, and then you know it was in the past. As I said with Martin O'Neill, even Gordon Strachan, it was a daunting place for teams to go. But I think that's gone now. That aura is gone now in terms of Celtic at home. So I don't think Brendan will be happy with his European record. I think he'll pride himself on what he's achieved in the game domestically. You know, Liverpool, Swansea, Liverpool, down at Leicester winning a trophy, invincible at Celtic. He's got a lot of great things in his CV, and I think that's a bit of a black mark against him. You know, that European record, and I think he'll be desperate to at least win a game in the group against somebody. You know, so it's not another six games without winning a game in Europe.
Yeah, okay. Finishing the Edinburgh Derby, Hearts 2, Hibs 2. Let's hear from Hearts manager Stephen Naismith on that point gained.
I thought for large parts of it was a really good performance. We carried a threat. The chances we had in the game are really good. Scored 2 good goals, and the biggest disappointment is that we've given up 2 goals in the space of a minute and a half. That's ultimately cost us 3 points in what would have been a very good performance.
Yeah, I think he's, as you mentioned there, probably the most miffed of the both managers because, quite simply, they were in a commanding situation. It was a great goal from Forrest to set them on their way. When you get the second goal, you think, oh, just shut up shop, we've got it.
Yeah, and he's right. 55 minutes gone, you're 2-0 up at home in a derby. You're fully expected to go and win the game. They switch off a little bit, but you can't take it away from the finish from Meli Johan. He finishes it well, roof of the net, and then that goal just changes everything, Peter. It goes back to 2-1, and then the whole momentum's with Hibs. They get the quick equaliser, and then all of a sudden all that hard work that Hearts have done for 55 minutes is out the window. They've got to go and win the game again, and they weren't able to do that. So I think Stephen will be bitterly disappointed being 2-0 up at home and not winning the game. And as I said earlier, both teams pick up a point, but in terms of momentum, in terms of bragging rights, I think the Hibs supporters will be the happier of the teams.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll hopefully hear from Nick Montgomery and what he has to say before we go off air. But it's a good win for Celtic. It's also a great win for David Martindale's Livingston. They defeated Motherwell, who were reduced to 10 men when... of course, they got the sending off. Lennon Miller sent off for Motherwell, and they were down to 10 men, and Motherwell paid the penalty for that in the second half. Livingston scoring 2 goals, taking all 3 points. That's the story of Saturday in the Scottish Premiership. As far as Sunday's concerned, Aberdeen against St Johnstone, and then St Mirren against Rangers. Now, St Mirren against Rangers, curiously enough, Tam, with that in mind, you've mentioned that you think Stephen Davis has to make changes just basically because of the dire performances of some in that midweek defeat to Limassol.
Yep, I think he will make changes, Peter, and I don't think he'll respect, in terms of people coming in for 3 million, 4 million. I think he'll pick the team to win the game. He's not going to get the job anyway, he's nothing to lose. So I think if he thinks there's a young boy in that team that can give him more than a Dessers or a Lammers, then I think he'll play him. And I think that the Rangers supporters will get behind that. I think if they see a young boy out there bursting a gut, and they'll get behind them more than a Lammers kind of swanning about.
You're mentioning Dessers and Lammers, but it's the back line that was woeful.
Yeah, it was, Peter.
The 2 centre-halves just let them score 2 goals that were really easy.
And he's got Leon King there, and he's got Suter there, you can bring in as well. But, in terms of going forward and attacking, then I think he's got a few options that he can do. But, as I said, I just fancy St Mirren to get something out of the game, Peter. I think that Rangers are a bit of a mess at the minute. They've no manager. They've had a long trek back from Cyprus, and I think St Mirren will not get a better chance of getting something out of the game.
Do you have a bit of sympathy for Stephen Davis, obviously, because he's looking at it and saying, if I could have made a good impression there, I might have been able to maybe give them a nod to say, well, I've got something. He's coming to the twilight of his career. He's not going to play on. But when you look at that side, Davis and Golson were the centre halves. So he's not got too many options to change it dramatically, other than, I think, as you said, Suter. And then the midfield area, Lundstrom and Raskin. He's got injuries as well, which I think, to be fair to Rangers, they've got a few players out.
Listen, they've got big players out. I think Cantwell's a big player for them. I think Cantwell's been one of the best signings, that's been made for Michael Beale. I think he was in tremendous form before he got injured. I think he's got something about him in terms of a bit of dig as well. When things are not going well, he'll keep trying to get on the ball. Disappointed Lundstrom and Raskin the other night as well. I thought they were outworked in the middle of the park from the Limassol players. So again, he can maybe change it in there. Cifuentes is fit. He came on as a sub the other night. So he's got a few options in there. But in terms of Rangers, they need to go out and show fight and dig and play for the jersey and play for the supporters. A lot of supporters travelled over to Cyprus during the week there and probably paid big money, to get there. And for Rangers to put that type of performance in was unacceptable for a lot of supporters, and they obviously let them know after the game. But they're not going to get away with that tomorrow, Peter. There'll be a big Rangers support travelling to Paisley again. And if it's the same type of performance, then the fans are going to be wanting to drag them off the park.
Yeah, if you're looking for fight, if you're looking for dig, if you're looking for a team that wanted to give their fans something to cheer about, then certainly Hibs managed to do that with the fight back in the Edinburgh Derby at Tynecastle. Let's hear from the Hibs boss, Nick Montgomery.
We turned the ball over cheaply, and that's something that we've not done in the last couple of weeks. So I was really disappointed with that. But yeah, told them in the second half they have to go out there and fix it, and I thought they did. I thought their second goal came against a run of play, but even at 2-0 I felt we could get back in the game, and I thought at the end there, a couple of chances. Joe News had a great chance, and Boydie just couldn't get the ball out of his feet. But all in all, again, some good saves from both goalkeepers. desperate defending from both teams, frantic periods in the game. Fans fantastic for both.
Yeah, probably could have maybe nicked it at the end there. But Nick Montgomery, I'd love to have been a fly in the wall at that half-time team talk. And as he said there, I just told him to get out there and fix it in the second half. There you are, straightforward message.
Yep, sometimes that's all it needs, Peter. You can get into in-depth tactics and what's went wrong and get into statistics and all this stuff. And there's a lot of that now. But sometimes you can just say, listen, I'm not making any changes. You've got us into this mess. You can get us out of this mess. And that seemed to be the message at half-time. And to be fair to them, he didn't make any changes at half-time. He kept with the same 11 and he's repaid them in the second half. But listen, he'll be thrilled with that. He'll be thrilled with that performance. Not probably the performance in the first half, but certainly the second half. The determination and the guts they showed to come back from 2-0 down and get a point. And it keeps his unbeaten run going as well, going into the international break.
Yeah, our reporter Patrick Mullen sampled his first Edinburgh Derby. What did you make of it?
I've got to say, I think that might be the best game of football you have ever sent me to, Peter. That was quite special from start to finish. The crowd at the start, the football on the pitch, and some of the goals were absolutely incredible. I hope every week for the rest of the season is just like these ones.
Your next 5 games are St Johnstone, so that should kill off any enthusiasm you have for football. I'm only kidding, St Johnstone fans, it is a joke. But as far as Tynecastle is concerned, and as far as that atmosphere, a lot of people who haven't been to an Edinburgh Derby don't realise, it's a fantastic atmosphere as well, especially Tynecastle. When they get to cheer the goals in the first half, the whole place is bouncing, undoubtedly, Patrick.
Yeah, this place was absolutely rocking in that second half when that goal went in. It was kind of Alex Lowry, it was a deflection, but these Hearts fans, they did not care. They were absolutely delighted. But as I said, 83 seconds and all that excitement was down the drain. Ellie Youhan just scuppered all the excitement and they were furious at the end of this one. They thought they should have cruised to a Derby Day delight, but it didn't happen for them.
And just before you go, who was the standout man for you? Was there a particular player that, in the frenzy of an Edinburgh Derby, looked as if he had a little bit of class about him?
I think it's got to be Alex Lowry. Stephen Naismith brought him off in around the 60th minute, and there were Hearts fans around me that couldn't understand why. He was by far Hearts' best player, creating lots of chances, and the goal for the second one came through him. Yes, it was a poor corner in, and yes, it was beaten by the first man, but he took it in, beat a man, put it into the dangerous area, and that was how the goal was created. If he had his shooting boots on, he actually might have had 2 in the opening 10 minutes, one from the cross and one from a chance. He had plenty of opportunities, and he's by far the best one here today.
Yeah, and I think the last point on it all, Patrick, is you're talking about one manager who's by far the happier, and it's got to be Nick Montgomery.
Oh, he's absolutely delighted, I think it's fair to say. If you had heard his half-time team talk, I think he was absolutely furious by the performance his team gave. In the games coming into this one, they've created 10, maybe 15 chances on goal. In that first half, they had absolutely nothing. In the second half, it was like a completely different Hibs side, and it's no doubt that he's absolutely delighted with his team's performance.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff there from Patrick.
Get that green jacket off, Patrick.
Yeah, that green jacket's
That's not good. That's not good. Yep, get it off, son.
Yeah, I was just about to say to you, you're in Gorgie, and I'm giving you advice right now. Either get a taxi out of the area pronto, or it's going to be a difficult walk down that road, isn't it?
I don't go by that Hearts pub at the top of the road with Robertson's. John Robertson's pub. Lost him out of there and give you a doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Great for Patrick to join us there from Tynecastle at the end of getting the thoughts of Nick Montgomery and Stephen Naismith, and I think the away manager by far the best of them. Of course, great atmosphere. I love Tynecastle for an Edinburgh Derby. It's magnificent. Easter Road equally is good, but I think there's something about Tynecastle and the way the stadiums, they're right on your tail.
It's closer. Honestly, if you're playing at Tynecastle, the guy in the front row can actually, when you're taking a throw in, can actually touch you, touch you in the back.
Yeah.
It's that tight, and that adds to the atmosphere. There's no gaps in between. It's a real enclosed environment, and it's a great place to go and play football in Edinburgh Derby. And I went back with several other clubs. It wasn't just with Hibs. I'd always got a good reception, but it was always a fantastic atmosphere at Tynecastle.
Good result today at the Tony Macaroni Arena for Livingston. They get a 2-0 win over Motherwell. Motherwell were reduced to 10 men. Here's Stuart Kettlewell's take on the match.
I think he's been outstanding, so no blame to him. Certainly I know his teammates don't harbour any blame towards him, and he just needs to continue doing exactly what he does, train the way he does every day, and continue to be a young, mature teenager that has an unbelievable head on his shoulders, and that won't throw him off course at all.
Because, you know, there are some managers that can throw you under the...
That's not Glenn Hoddle.
Well, it's just exactly what I was thinking. There are some managers that can throw you under the bus if you get sent off. But Lennon Miller's he's a young player.
Yeah, he's only a kid, and he's made a mistake. Obviously, he's been caught wrong side, and he's pulled the boy down and got a red card. I'm sure he'll learn from that. I'm sure that Lennon Miller will be devastated tonight when he gets home. He'll feel like he's cost the team, you know, a victory. But these things happen in the game. He's a young player making his way in the game. He's a very, very talented boy, and by all accounts, with Stuart there, he's very level-headed and mature. And I'm sure he'll get on with it next week. And whenever he comes back, he'll be suspended next week. But whenever he comes back into the team, he'll pick up where he left off.
Yeah, the other good thing about it from a Livingston perspective on that match is that win propels him up into mid-table, Tam, and that for David Martindale yet again will be a huge bonus, getting those types of points, capitalising when you have a man advantage.
Yeah, they seem to win a lot of those games, whether it's a Motherwell at home or a Ross County at home. They win those games where they have to win. They don't really pick up a lot of points, I don't think, against the Celtic Rangers or whatever, but they know how to win games against the teams round about them.
Here's David Martindale on Sean Kelly.
I just think, like, as the player at that point in time, Sean's a penalty taker, but he stays with Liam. Like, so they know each other inside out, so I didn't want him walking up there and he wasn't confident to take a penalty, but he said during the week, of course I want to take a penalty. I mean, I actually stayed out yesterday, and Sean generally bends it to the keeper's right hand post. He reversed it last week, and then we worked on a wee bit yesterday, just reversing it.
Yeah, well, he stepped up, put the ball in the back of the net, and Livingston, that's a strange one, taking a penalty against your brother, isn't it?
Stays him as well.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting tonight over the Chinese meal.
Absolutely. I think that's just a case of, listen, you're in one room, I'm in the other, and don't even bother chapping the door. Simple as that. Always great to get Tam with us on a Saturday afternoon. Hopefully you're enjoying the shows. Hit the subscribe button if you can, because there's lots of variety for you to savour in Scottish football and beyond. We've got breaking football news at your fingertips if you download the app. But if you hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel, you'll join the football family. Thank you very much for listening to our podcast and watching the programme today. We'll see you on Monday when Neil Lennon and of course Tam and Ruffy and myself will be in to discuss the weekend's games in detail. Tomorrow, St Mirren against Rangers and Aberdeen against St Johnstone. You can get all the details of that by covering our social media channels. Have a great Saturday night.